Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom, Brother Naquam.
Shalom, Brother Right.
Coming back at you with these precepts and another Monday Night Fire, giving, of course, our honor and our glory to Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach Malak Yahushai, double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach Yahushai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there in the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnify the ministry, presenting their body as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom to those men. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom to all of the Akwat out there, married and unmarried, the sincere sisters that believe in Yahweh Bashim Washai and prove it through their work. Shalom to the children of the ancient men and everybody else tuning in live. Kwame Yashala, Shalom.
Shalom to the 12 tribes of Israel scattered abroad, reading, praying, fasting, doing all the works of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. I'm going to pull this quick precept before we get into it. It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 17 and verse number 2. Son of man, put forth a riddle and speak a parable unto the house of Israel. So we're doing a Q&A tonight through the Spirit. So all of the parables, right, the mysteries, the similitudes, right, all of the dark things out of scriptures. If you got any questions, comments, or concerns, you could bring it out, and Most High willing will be able to expound on it.
And we're going to get right into it, right? It's sleepwalk. This is from HBKN, right? It's sleepwalking, a demon possession, right? And that's the actual thing. People deal with sleep paralysis, sleepwalking. Some people have demons that press on their chest and they can't breathe, right? They try to call on somebody, but they can't call on anybody. So demons can attack you, rather your conscience or rather you're in a deep sleep, man. Right? I got a quick precept on that. Right? Unless you have something, King.
Khan, I got two precepts, but you got yours.
You got it. You got it.
Okay, Khan. Right? This is the mighty book of Second Esdras, right? Chapter 10 and verse, I'm going to start at 35. For I have seen that I know not, and hear that I do not know, or is my sense deceived, or my soul in a dream, right? So when you sleep and you're in a dream, you think that things are going on which actually aren't going on. You wake up sweating. You may actually claw your back or your arm in your dream trying to get away from something, and then wake up and think that the same thing that was chasing you actually clawed you. So your sense gets deceived when you're in a dream. You may fall on the ground, roll off the bed, XYZ. I mean, a lot of things happen. And if your body, is waking up and moving around and you have no control over it, right? Anything where you can't control over your own vessel, you have rage. Rage is a thing. Some people, they have what they call it, car, when you rage in traffic, road rage. A lot of people have road rage, and spirits hop on them and they fight, right? They whip out all type of violent weapons and things like that, and rape, right? People, right? They can't control their vessels. Some people damn tackle people and urge with these spirits. So if you can't control your vessel or your body, you're literally possessed by a spirit, right? This is the book of Job, chapter 7 and verse number 13. When I said my bed shall comfort me. So a bed is a place of relaxation, right? It says my couch shall ease my complaint. So as anybody knows, when you relax and you're going to sleep, right, you want to make sure you're in a comfortable place, right? It says, then thou scarest me with dreams and terrified me through visions. So the Lord's going to terrify you and try you in your dreams and not possess you and have you to do God knows what, wake up in the middle of traffic. You got it.
Yeah, some brothers, they wake up and open the refrigerator and they sleepwalking, right? They breaking dishes, they eating the food. I mean, they're uttering their deepest, darkest secrets, man, while they're asleep, right? Some deep thing he was thinking about, some God knows what, it's just uttering, you're just spewing all of your heart, man, right? So these things, the most I could tap into your spirit. That dream, but they call it that state of consciousness, that deep REM sleep, that's what they call it. Right? They call it that deep REM sleep. That's the name that even Esau gives it when you're into those deep slumberings upon your bed. Right? That's in let me get this real quick in Sirach. Right? Let me get a quick precept. Right? This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 40, and I will start at verse 6. It reads, I'll start at 5. Wrath and envy, trouble and unquietness, fear of death and anger and strife. And in the time of rest upon his bed, his night sleep do change his knowledge. A little or nothing is his rest, and afterward he is in his sleep, as in a day of keeping watch, troubled in the vision of his heart, as if he were escaped out of a battle. When all is safe, he awaketh and marveleth that the fear was nothing. So that's part of this flesh, man. You see a dog, a dog or a cat, they'll move their paw, right? When they sleep, they running in the sleep, right? Or a baby, right? Your child is twitching and doing things in his sleep, right? So these things happen to all flesh. Now, if you're sleepwalking and doing God knows what, you want to kind of gauge that. That's a little bit different, right? But with the Most High, speaking of nightmares, he's speaking of visions and dreams that you have. You may wake up in cold sweats, right? You wake up, your heart is pounding. You may wake up emotional. It reads, when all is safe, he awaketh and marveleth that the fear was nothing. Such things happen unto all flesh, both man and beast. And here's the point, and that is sevenfold more upon sinners. So sevenfold more is that guy that sleeps and he goes up and he harms people, right? Sevenfold more upon sinners is that guy that sleeps and he's breaking into houses, right? Or that guy that sleeps and he's just uttering deep, dark, nasty confessions, right? Or the guy that sleeps and he strips down naked, man, and wants to fight and he's uncontrollable. That's sevenfold more, because a lot of people deal with movements when they sleep, man. You toss and turn, and some people, if you marry your rib, might say you was kind of talking in your sleep, baby smiling in their sleep. That happens unto all flesh, but it's sevenfold more. The Most High kind of enhance it for judgment upon those that are sinning, right? And a lot of people do evil things in their sleep, man, and they can't even remember what they have done, right? Until they're damn, locked up for doing God knows what, So I just want to bring that precept out. You got it, King.
Con, let's sit on that unless you had something else on it.
Con. All right, next question. HBKN. What type of mindset should we be during the furnace of affliction? And that's a beautiful question. What type of mindset should we be during the furnace of affliction? Well, the mindset you want to have first and foremost is you want to have the mindset to accept that you're in the furnace of affliction, right? You have to realize that you are in the furnace of affliction. It's not a dream like we were just talking about. It's not an illusion. It's not something that, it's just make believe. You're literally inside the furnace of affliction, and you have to accept that. So the first part of being in the furnace of affliction is accepting that Yahweh, Bashmi Shai, has opened up that steel door and put you in that furnace. You have to accept this, right? Mentally. And as soon as you accept it, you cope when you have to deal with it. You have to say, okay, I am inside of the furnace of affliction. This is real. This is long suffering. And it should stir your mind up to particular precepts, right? One quick precept. This is the classic. Sirach chapter 2 and verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure. So now you have to say, hey, look, I'm in a furnace. I'm going to be tempted. Demons are going to come my way. Folly is going to manifest itself. The Most High is going to prove me and try me to see if I'm going to serve him or no, right? The Most High removes things from you to see if you're still going to serve him, right? Remove the hedge from you. Most High take your car away, break your car down, take your job away, and he'll take your woman away. He'll take your children away, right? He'll take your land away. He'll take your health away. He'll take your peace of mind away, right? And then you have to understand that, hey, look, I have to endure these things, right? Verse 3, cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Here's the point. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. So you have to be patient too, right? You can't think that you're going to get out that furnace in 5 seconds just because it's hot. Part of this truth is long suffering. What is long suffering? Suffering for a long time, playing upon tables. So you have to be patient inside of that furnace and understand that this thing could be years. It could be months. Potentially, it can be days. You don't have to think that every furnace is going to be, every affliction is resolved in an hour, right? Oh, my car broke down. The Most High may not send a mechanic that same hour. You got to be patient. Everything ain't going to come when you want it. Well, the Most High is going to send me a mechanic in 60 minutes. Okay, 58, 59, 60. Oh, here he is. No, it don't work like that, man. You might be out there in the rain. Car might break down in the freezing cold. You know, you might damn hydroplane and you're spinning on the damn highway, man, and traffic is coming your way. And you might get pulled over by the double. He might have you get out the car. You know, you got to kind of deal with these things, right? One more, verse 5. Let me read that latter part again. And be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. And there's two types of Israelites: unacceptable Israelites and acceptable Israelites. You want to be an acceptable man who has endured the furnace and was patient when the Most High turned up that temperature from 100 degrees to 360 degrees, right? And you're abiding in the furnace, knowing that it's purifying. You got it, King.
Khan, that's right. This is the book of 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 12. It said, Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, which is the trial, as though some strange thing have happened to you. Right? So, I mean, we may think that things are strange that happen upon us. You may get locked up out of nowhere, unjustly. Or you may lose your job unjustly, man. You may have a back ailment out of nowhere. You woke up, your back is crooked, trying to figure out what happened, man. Right? Nothing exactly went wrong. I mean, the sufferings that we have in the flesh and the things that we endure, the Lord is saying, look, don't think these things are strange. Or you may be reproached for the name of the Most High and his beloved Saint Yahushua. It says, but rejoice. So the main thing you want to have in the fire is a sense of mind to rejoice that the Lord has chose you to purge you and make you perfect. Right? You have the baptism, which is the renewness of the mind. And you also have the baptism of fire. You have to get tried. You have to be washed with fire and purged out and made new. And you have to be washed with water to be purged out with a new conscience and a new mind towards the Lord. So you can't just think you could be baptized with just water and your conscience and not face any type of hell, any situations, any fiery trials. Because what does water do? It cleanses you. What did fire do? It burns down. And whatever is left, which is that gold, which you are, is going to remain. It says, but rejoice in so much as ye are partakers of Yahweh's suffering. And Yahushua didn't just suffer on the cross. He got reproached in his own country, right? He got mocked and laughed at. People were trying to kill him, toss him over the cliff headlong, right? His own family was coming up against him in the house. So a lot of things isn't just being nailed to the cross. The Lord's suffering was many, right? The mentality, of sweating, right? Knowing the hour is coming. It's a lot that's going on of the sufferings that we face every single day. Being poor, the Lord living in a manger. It says, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. It says, if ye be reproached for the name of Yahushua, happy are ye. So the Lord said you should be happy when these things happen. What did the apostles do when they were beaten in the name of the Lord? In Acts the 5th chapter, verse 40 all the way down. Those men were celebrating that they got beat and that they were worthy to suffer reproach for the name of the Lord. It says, for the spirit of glory and God resteth upon you, and on their part is evil spoken of, but on your part is glorified. Right, I got one more precept. This the song of the three holy children, verse number 8. Wherefore all that thou hast brought upon us, and everything that thou hast done to us, thou hast done in true judgment. So you don't want to have a mentality or mindset that the Lord did you wrong. This is a little bit too much, Lord. I don't know about this. And your mind starts to go astray from you actually going through the fire. And the Lord has chosen. So if the Lord gave you more fire than the next brother, hey, all praise to the Most High, because you can handle it. It says, and thou didst deliver us into the hands of the lawless enemy, most hateful forsakers of God, and to the unjust king, and most wicked in all the world. And now we cannot open our mouths. We are become a shame and reproach to thy servants. and to them that worship thee, yet deliver us not wholly for thy name's sake, neither dismantle thou the covenant, and cause not thy mercy to depart from us, for thy beloved Abraham's sake, for thy servant Isaac's sake, and for thy holy Israel's sake. So their mentality was for the Lord not to depart from them and to pray, right? Peter said, be joyful. These are all of the mentalities and emotions that you should have in the fire.
That's right. That's right. That's a beautiful questions. Beautiful questions. Oh, Taylor B, I have a question. If you are a virgin, can you lie with a person who was of the world that has marriages, but now is in the truth? Okay, let me read that again. I have a question. If you are a virgin, can you lie with the person who was of the world, right? That has marriages, but now is in the truth? Well, that's well, I would say this, right? First and foremost, the only unpermissible or a few permissible sexual acts are documented in the book of Leviticus, the 18th chapter, right? What is that? That is ancestral relationships. That is laying down with a beast. That is adultery, meaning a woman that is having sex with a man when she's promised to or married to another man already, right? That is forbidden. That is strictly sin, right? A sin worthy of death, and also homosexual relationships, right? You have to examine and see if does it fall under one of those major categories. Again, ancestral relationships, which that's all fornication anyway. Homosexuality, that's a form of fornication. Adultery, again, which is you being promised to or married to another man and you having sex with another man. That's not your husband, right? That's adultery. Laying down with a beast. You understand these are different forms of fornication. Just to lay that foundation so we can know what's permissible, what's not permissible, right? Because the Most High is strictly against fornication, right? But the root of this question is more so, hey, look, I'm a virgin, or a person is a virgin, and they're laying down with a man who had marriages, but he's in the truth. There's no sin in that, right? I would seek counsel about the true dynamics of that situation, right? And the way weighing things in the balance, but there's no sin in that, right? The question is, if you're a virgin, can you? Yes, you can, right? But should you, right? Is it wise? Is there counsel rooted in this decision? Have things been weighed in the balance? Have things been proven and tried? It's a lot of things you can do, but it's a lot of things that you may not want to do, right? And you want to make that decision based off of counsel, prayer, and fasting, right? Let me get this precept real quick, right? This is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, because virginity for a woman is pure and precious, right? Now, a woman can say, hey, look, hey, it is what it is, right? Well, hey, look, it is what it is then. But you want to do things in wisdom, and you want to understand, what you're getting yourself involved in, right? 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and 23. All things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not, right? So certain things, they may be lawful, but it may not be the best or the wisest decision to make at that time. But if a woman's a virgin, she makes that decision and say, hey, look, I'm not promised to a man. I'm not married to a man. Yes, this man was of the world, like we all were of the world. He repented. He came into the truth. He has a marriage. I still have to get some clarification what that means. He has marriages. I don't know what that means, right? But as long as you're not promised to or married to a man, but you got it, King.
I want to get the classic. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 6 and verse 7. It says, if thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. So you want to be hasty to credit a brother just because he makes you laugh, or just because, he may wear the finest of clothes, or all of the so-called oils, right? And he always smell good. He always plucking out his beard, or whatever the case may be. You want to prove a friend. Make sure that this man is able to financially take care of you, spiritually care for your soul, and most importantly, right, lead you to the kingdom. Because a man is like a shepherd. And you got to understand, if the blind is leading the blind, both of them are going to fall into the ditch. You may be in a situation where you're not getting built up spiritually. Now you're stuck with this man forever. And this man, he may be a so-called dressed nice, may have money, you may find him attractive or whatever the case may be. But really, what is that in a balance to salvation and getting built up? Right? The Lord says, for some man is a friend for his own occasion and would not abide in the days of thy trouble. And a lot of people that's in the world, they're not going to have the fear of the Most High. And the fear of the Most High keeps a marriage together. Right? Somebody may say it's good cooking. Somebody may say, it's the way they make me laugh. But a lot of marriages, when you really look at it, when things get thick and things get hard, we pray, we fast, we be strong in the spirit. We cast our burdens on the Lord. We make sure that whatever we're doing, we're basing our judgment and our mindset off of the precepts, not off our own understanding. Because King, I don't know if you remember, you said, I don't know if you said this or another brother, but you said somebody ain't talked to their wife in damn 30 years and they lived in the same house.
Yeah, yep. It was 40 years. 40 years. They hadn't talked.
That's all.
Run at each other.
That's all, right? So if you don't got the spirit of the Most High, you liable to do foolish things like that, right? He get the west wink, I get the east wink, right? He's in the attic, I'm in the basement, right? You want to make sure that you're moving in the spirit of the Most High and you proving a friend. You got it.
Con. I mean, yeah, that's plain, right? That's plain. And I had another precept, but the spirit won't allow it to come out at the time. So hopefully that helps, sister. Again, you want to just I had it, Salaki. So I'll put this right, chapter 37 and verse 13. I'm still at 14. For a man's mind at some time want to tell him more than 7 watchmen that sit above in a high tower. Right? Meaning you may look at things from a different angle. Right? They say perception is key, man. Right? You may see a watchman may see the cavalry come in and he may only count 5 men. Then the other guy may say, no, it's 4 men. Then one guy might say that's a brown horse. The other watchman might say, no, it's a black horse. And it's confusion. And the message becomes clouded, man. There's no clarity with 7 watchmen sitting upon a high tower, all trying to figure out what it is that they see. So that breeds confusion because a man's mind is like that. Should I go out? It might rain. Well, if I don't go out, then I won't be able to get this done. But if I do go out, I might be tired afterwards. And your mind start playing damn games on you. So what did the Most High say in verse 15? And above all this, pray to the Most High that he will direct thy way in truth. Let reason go before every enterprise and counsel before every action. Right? So you want to get counsel first and foremost from Yahweh. Bashim Yahushai, man. Right? And seek the Most High. That's Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not on thy own understanding. And all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. You understand? So you want to make sure you seek the Most High that he may direct your way in truth. And before every enterprise you take, because marriage is not a light decision. It's an extremely weighty matter. And you want to make sure you do things in wisdom and discretion. You got something else in that, King?
Nah.
Okay. Ahaziah. Shalom, King. I was thinking on something with the scriptures in Luke chapter 24, verses 15 through 31. As the disciples didn't know that Yahushua was with them in verse 16, I was wondering, could this be regeneration? Okay, well, let's see. Let's deal with it. Luke 24. All right, you want to get in there, King?
Con.
I'll read it.
Okay, Con.
Okay, this is Luke 24 and 15. And it came to pass that while they communed together and reasoned, Yahushua himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were holden that they should not know him. And he said unto them, what manner of communications are these that ye have one to another as ye walk and are sad? And one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered, said unto him, Art thou only a stranger in Jerusalem, and hast not known the things which are come to pass there in these days? And he said unto them, What things? And they said unto him, Concerning Yahushua of Nazareth, which was a prophet, mighty in deed and in word before God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death and have crucified him. But we trusted that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. And beside all this, today is the third day since these things were done. Yea, and certain women also of our company made us astonished, which were early at the sepulchre. And when they came, it's like when they found not his body, they came saying that they had also seen a vision of angels, which said that he was alive. And certain of them which were with us went to the sepulchre and found it even as the woman had said, but they saw him not. It's like by him they saw not. But he said unto them, O fools and slow of hearts to believe all things that the prophets have spoken. Ought not Hamashiach to have suffered these things and to enter into his glory? And beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he expounded unto them and all the scriptures the things concerning himself. And they drew nigh unto the village whither they went, and he made as though he would have gone further, but they constrained him, saying, Abide with us, for it is toward evening, and the day is far spent. And he went in to tarry with them. And it came to pass, as he sat at meat with them, he took bread and blessed it and brake and gave to them. And their eyes were opened, and they knew him, and he vanished out of their sight.
Right, and I want to touch on the fact that they said, could this be regeneration? We'll go to Acts chapter 1 and verse 3 real fast. It says, to whom also he shewed himself alive after his passion by many inflatable proofs, being seen of them 40 days. So we know a child, regeneration, that doesn't happen, that fast after a resurrection. You have generations where your spirit goes up to the third heaven. Not to get too lengthy of a breakdown, because that's a deep subject, but you have to come down in your respective generations. You don't come right back on the earth immediately, within a couple of days. You have a generation in a cycle, and the Lord has generations on the earth, right? This is a generation. You have a next generation. They'll wait in their chambers until the Most High brings them back on earth. So it says that Yahushua was on earth 40 days and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of God. So when you read the Gospels, the Lord, he transfigures a lot. You can read about that in Matthew, the 17th chapter, right? John, the 21st chapter, John, the 20th chapter, and Luke, the 24th chapter. I want to get this quick precept. It's the book of John, right? Chapter 20, and I'm going to start at verse number 12. It says, and seeth two angels in white sitting, the one at his head and the other at his feet, where his body of Yahushua had lain. And there saith unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? She said unto him, Because thou hast taken away my Lord, and I know not whether thou hast laid him. Right? It says, and when she had thus said, she turned herself back and saw Yahushua standing, and knew not that it was Yahushua. So this is right after the resurrection. So you have the resurrection, right? You have this account, right, that we're reading about in Luke. So you wouldn't have the Lord, right, so-called regenerated 3-4 times he's being mentioned. Now he's 3 different people on the earth at the same time. It hasn't been a generation to come back. And, that's just a misunderstanding, but that's all right. It says, let me read that again. Yahushua said unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? She supposing him to have been, so like it be the gardener, said unto him, Sir, if thou have borne him thence, tell me where thou hast laid him, and I will take him away. Yahushua said unto her, Mary. She turned herself and said unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. And then when you read the book of John, the 21st chapter, you see how those men, right, the disciples, they didn't know it was the Lord, but John perceived it was the Lord. Right? This is the book of John, chapter 21, and verse number 4. But when the morning was now come, Yahushua stood on the shore, but the disciples knew not that it was Yahushua. Right? Because the Lord transfigured. It says, Then Yahushua said unto them, Children, have ye any meat? They answered him, No. And he said unto them, cast the net on the right side of the ship, and ye shall find. And that's spiritual, because that's the same thing the Lord said in Luke, the 5th chapter. So it's like a spirit hopped on them and they could perceive that it was the Lord. It said, and he said unto them, cast ye the net on the right side of the ship, and ye shall find. They cast therefore, and now they were not able to draw the multitude of fishes. Therefore, that disciple whom Yahushua loved said unto Peter, it is the Lord. Let me get that in Luke real fast. It's the book of Luke, right? Chapter 5, right? In verse, I'm going to start at 4. It says, now when they had left speaking, he said unto Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a draught. And Simon answered, said unto him, Master, we have toiled all the night and have taken nothing. Nevertheless, at thy word, I will let down a net. And when they had done so, they enclosed a great multitude of fishes, and their net brake. So, I mean, it's the same spirit of when they were fishing, the Lord casting out the net on the right side, and they could perceive that it was the Lord. And it's showing you all throughout the scriptures how the Lord transfigured. You got it.
Kind. And now I just want to add one more account. This is the book of St. Mark, chapter 16, and verse, let's start at verse, bear with me. Salakia. Let me get this precept in the book of Mark. Right? So the world, you know what the world calls that? They call that shapeshifter. They say, well, he's a shapeshifter. Well, that Yahushua is not a shapeshifter. Shapeshifter is somebody that could turn to a television, a helmet, a teacup, a lamp, a nightstand, a zebra. Yahushua, he could change his form, his body mass, his identity at any given will. At any given second, he could look like. That's what Esau is trying to do now with these deep fakes. They got deep fakes and artificial intelligence. They're trying to get man to replicate the spiritual power of our fathers. And that's something that all of the angels could do. Every angel could change form. An angel could come down and look like a regular man, look like a tall man, a poor man, a rich man. These spirits had the ability to take on the mass and the identity and the structure and the anatomy of any vessel at their leisure. That's one of the abilities that Yahweh had given them. And Yahushua was able to do these things on the earth. Remember, Yahushua, before I get the precept I want to get, this is John chapter 3, and I will start at verse 33. It reads, he that hath received his testimony hath set to his seal that the Most High is true. For he whom the Most High hath sent speaketh the words of the Most High. For the Most High giveth not the Spirit by measure unto him. What does it mean Yahushua was given a spirit, but not by measure? I mean, he was when you watch that movie Limitless, remember that guy, that Edomite, he was taking them limitless pills, and he could do all types of stuff, man. He was a genius, and he could run fast, he was strong, and he had all of these different gifts. He could do things that the average man couldn't do. Yahushua in the spirit was limitless. He could forgive sins on the earth. He could raise the dead. He could call 12 leaders of angels at his own pleasure. The angels could ascend and descend upon him. He could change form. He was given a spirit without measure. See, we have the spirit now, but it's limited. There are certain things that we just can't do. You can pray, you can fast, you can really be in the spirit, but you'll never reach the pinnacle of Yahushua. And one of the things that allowed Yahushua to tap into that, or how Yahushua tapped to that, was changing form. And I want to get that in Mark the 16th chapter, right? So this is St. Mark, right? Chapter 16 and verse 11. I'm going to start at 10. And she went and told them, and she went and told them that had been with him as they mourned and wept. And they, when they had heard that he was alive and had been seen of her, believed not. So they didn't believe Mary Magdalene, the apostles. Here's verse 12. After that, he appeared in another form unto two of them as they walked and went into the country. So Yahushua can appear into another form. Now, let me get this. Like Ariah said, that's not regeneration, right? It's not regeneration. It's not close. Now, I want to get that word form in the Greek, right? That he appeared to in the book of Mark, the 16th chapter, so we can kind of see what that word actually means, right? This Mark 6:12. I'm gonna play it out loud.
Strong's G 3444. Morphe.
That's where you get the word morph, right? So Yahweh Shah can change. He can morph into another form. Like when you watch these TV shows, these villains that can morph, then they got their final form, and then you got to Yahweh Shah. He can morph into another form. Back in the day, they had the TV show Animorphs, right? You remember Animorphs, King?
Yeah, I heard of it.
Yeah, that's back in the day. So they had the Animorphs, and these people, they could turn into eagles, they could turn into falcons, they could morph into an animal, right? Yahweh Shah, he could morph into another thing or person, right? Now here's that word, here's the definition for morph. It reads, the form by which a person or thing strikes the vision, external appearance. Right, so Yahweh Shah could just change his external appearance at any given second. Right, but you got it, King.
Yeah, they even got that movie X-Men. I don't know the name of that character, but that blue thing. You know, that's what it. Yeah, Mystique, man. That she'll turn into, the white man, and she'll turn into a child, and I mean, their imagination, they're getting all of it based off of the scriptures. All your warriors, right? All your men of counsel and understanding, your gray-haired men, everything that their imagination of Hollywood movies and media, they're getting it off of the scriptures, man.
Come. And regeneration, you come in another form too, because you're not going to be the exact same person you were, right? But you'll come same spirit in a different body, right? But it's not the same. Yahweh Shah did that at will. When you come back on the earth in another form, it's not at your discretion. You have no influence on who you're going to look like and what you're going to look like, how tall, how short, facial hair, skin tone. You have no influence on that. That is completely out of your hands. And the Most High formed man, right? And he's the one that decides, hey, look, I'm going to take this spirit that was up there with me in the third heaven, and every 3 and 4 generations, I'm going to send that spirit back in another form. And he forms that according to his will, because he's the potter. That's Jeremiah the 18th chapter, Romans the 9th chapter, Wisdom of Solomon the 15th chapter, right? He's that Sirach the 33rd chapter. He's the potter, right? So we can move on. Yahweh, Shalom. What other offices can I do to magnify the name of Yahweh if teaching isn't one of them? So we got some good questions tonight, man. Right? We got some good. That is a good question. And I'm going to read it again for everybody in the back. Shalom. What other offices can I do to magnify the name of Yahweh? Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Ba'ashem Mashiach Wamalak Yahweh Shai. Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai? Right? If teaching isn't one of them. I got a quick precept on that. All right? Quick precept. This 1 Corinthians, right? First, let me get this. I'm gonna let you go. You got it, King. I'm gonna get this real quick in James. Right? This is James chapter 1 and verse 17. It reads, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. So these different gifts and offices come from the Most High. Now, a man may see a skill set in you, talents. You may have done things in the world or in time past that through experience, you may bring into this truth to be able to magnify the name of the Most High and help this ministry, right? And you have to understand that, hey, look, even if you may not have had a particular skill set in the world or experience when it comes to anything, these gifts are still going to be given and freely dispersed by the Creator, right? So Yahweh, he is the one that gives man these particular offices, right? Rather your office is a teacher, a reader, someone that exhorts, charity, helps, miracles, right? Administrations. These are different offices that you may have to be able to help magnify the name of the Most High. But I want to put it out there that you have to seek Yahweh, Basham Yahushua, first and foremost, to understand what is your role in this truth. You have certain men, their role is just to sit on the couch all day and put fire emojis on the live, right? Or scoff and say, if I was out there, I would have brought out this precept. Why you bring out Matthew 15:24? You brought that out on episode 5. You should have brought out Matthew 1:21. Right? So the brother, he's thinking of episodes. His mind ain't right, man. He's yelling at the screen. He's standing up. When a scoffer come up, he's sitting down and he's standing up like this in front of the screen. Like
Super Bowl
yeah, Super Bowl, man. He's standing up like it's the big game. Right? And then you got men who have actual offices, and you want to tap into Yahweh Basham Yahushua to see what your office is, but you got a king.
Khan. It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 1 and verse number 9. It says, having made known unto us the mystery of his will. So the Lord has to make known unto you the mystery of his will, because it may be a mystery when you first come into the truth. You don't know what's going on. You just got your fringes. You just started to grow your beard out. Right, you're trying to find out what camp, you really suck with through the spirit. You're ciphering through different doctrines, and I don't really suck with that. This brother's off. Or all praise to the Most High. I can see the fruit in their works, whatever the case may be. Having made known unto us the mystery of his will, according to his good pleasure, which he have proposed in himself. Right, so the Lord has a purpose where he proposed to for you. You understand through the spirit. Now I want to get that real fast. In 1 Corinthians 12. Now, if you don't know, the Lord gives a list of certain things that men, were executing in the church. It's 1 Corinthians 12 and verse 4. Now, there are diversity of gifts, but the same spirit. And just because you're not a teacher, doesn't mean that you're not mighty. Because without a teacher, you have to have a reader. The reader is damn near the most important part of the camp because they're actually reading the words of the Most High. You need a teacher to expound and break it down and give the sense, but the reader is reading the spirit of Yahushua. That's the Lord speaking through the spirit of that vessel. It says, and there are differences in admirations, but the same Lord. And there are diversity of operations, but the same God which worketh in all. But the manifestation of the spirit is given to every man to profit withal. So you can't say, well, I don't have a spirit. I don't know what the spirit is for me to do. You know what you do, man, when you're young? You get on that basketball court. You get out on that football field. You play around on soccer. You may grab the bat, the baseball bat, and you just go out there and you try to have fun, man. And then you find your niche. I didn't know I could jump extra high. A lot of people, man, they start singing when they're 2 years old, 4 years old. They start to learn themselves. And when you in this truth, you start to execute certain offices, you want to try to execute them all. And just because you may be a teacher doesn't mean that you can't give counsel. Doesn't mean that you can't have the spirit of discerning of spirits. So you may be able to have more than one spiritual gift. Look at Elijah. He was strong in the spirit, right? I mean, he did everything there was to do. Look at Hamashiach Malak Yahushua. Look at Peter. Look at Paul. These men had spiritual gifts, more than one spiritual gift. Paul had diversity of tongues, discerning of spirits, right? Prophecy. Right, so you want to get out there and execute all offices, and whichever you prevail in, which may be strengthening more than the other ones, you want to pray to the Most High that he gives you more of a spirit to do that for his name.
And I want to get this real quick. This right, somewhat of a parallel precept. This Romans chapter 12, and I'll start at verse 4. For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office. You're like the brother said, you're not going to have 1,000 readers out there and no teachers, nobody holding posts, 15 men on the line, just all reading, right? Out loud, real loud. I mean, that's unprofitable. You're not going to have 30 guys just holding posts. All of Israel just gives alms. Everybody's just an alms giver. No prophecies, no judgment, just alms. Everybody's just exhorting one another all day. Stay on fire, be diligent. No, you got different offices, man. Right? Your head has a different function than the arm. The leg was created different than your torso. Your toes were created different than your fingers, man. Everything in your body has a function. And you have a function in this truth. Don't think that you don't. You have a function in this truth, but it's up to you. You have to have the willpower to go before the Most High and ask, what is your function? Now, the Most High may tell you something. You may say, well, I'm going to go before the Lord, right? Don't expect for the Most High to say, okay, you're going to be the mightiest prophet and apostle and teacher, right? Because everybody doesn't have that role. I always speak about Haggai. Haggai is one of the shortest books in the Bible. It's only 2 chapters long. His name is written in the book of life. He's one of the elect. And where's the account of Haggai slaying 1,000 men? Where's the kind of the in-depth dark sayings in the book of Haggai? Where's all 66 chapters and 52 chapters and 48 chapters like Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel? Right? Where's the extent? Where's the hidden book of the in-depth expeditions of Haggai? But Haggai had a gift of exhortation to stir up Zerubbabel and Joshua to build the temple. So if the Most High didn't tap into Haggai's spirit to exhort Israel, then they wouldn't build the temple. There would be no sacrifice. Israel would be in sin. There would be no atonement, right? And we would fall in transgression. And the men that was above Haggai, because Haggai was underneath Joshua the high priest and Zerubbabel the governor, aka the king, right? De facto king. Although those men were above him, they needed that. You understand? They needed that exhortation and those words in order to stir themselves up to build, right? So Haggai was a builder, and that was the gift that the exhorter, that's the gift that the Most High gave, right? So don't look at, well, what this brother had, what this brother had. Every brother had different gifts. Simon, right, had a different gift. Joseph of Arimathea, the Most High made him a counselor, and the Most High gave him wealth. And he was into alms. He's the one with Nicodemus to bury Yahushua. Right? Nobody else. Who else was going to get the body of the Lord? Peter didn't do it. John the Revelator didn't do it. And John was there. Right? Mary didn't do it. What compelled Joseph of Arimathea to do it? Well, the Most High gave him a gift of boldness, courage. You understand? Certain brothers are just courageous. Certain brothers are just valiant. They're just gun-ho. They blinders. They all about Yahushua. Let me get this quick precept. And Mark 15. Right? Some men just crave the body of the Lord. He was just a craver of the Lord. Right? This St. Mark. And that's one of my favorite accounts of Joseph of Arimathea. Right? This is St. Mark chapter 15 to 42. And now when the even was come, because it was the preparation, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, an honorable counselor, which also waited for the kingdom of the Most High, came and went in boldly unto Pilate and craved the body of Yahushua. Pilate wasn't sitting in a mud pie somewhere. When you read the history of Pilate, he would have to have his own like palace that he would dwell in during these feast days to try to quell any uproar that would happen. So he wasn't just sitting around in the mud. You could just walk up on Pilate. Pilate had bodyguards. He was a governor. He had men. He had guys that he'd tell what to do. But this man went in and then they kicked the door down and said, I need the body of Yahushua. And he was allowed to bury our Lord and our King. That's a gift that he had. You have certain brothers, one more point, they're mediators. Samuel, he was a mediator on behalf of Israel. Moses, he was a mediator on behalf of Israel. Certain men can make intercession to the Most High for you, for your sins and your wickedness by going to Yahweh through his son Yahushua. Right? You may be the brother, you just like you're like Onias the priest who's praying for the body of the Jews. You're just the brother that just labors in prayers. And you're the brother that gives waters out there when it's hot outside, man. You show up with all of the waters, man. Right? You're the brother when it's damn cold out. You show up with the hand warmers, right? Extra gloves, scarves, and hats, man. You're that guy. You're the dependable brother all season who's out there in the elements. You're the brother to make sure that there's a venue for the feast days all the time, right? And you're the brother that's always going to be there to send those texts in the group chat to keep brothers going in the spirit. So there's a lot, and you're the brother that could cook for the feast days. You're the brother with the skills to be able to whip up that, you know what, to serve it in righteousness, man. You got it, King.
And you most definitely want to do all you can for the Most High, right? So finding out those offices, like I said earlier, you want to execute all offices. You don't want to be just a shooter, right? All you do is just stand in the wing and go like this for the ball, just waiting for the ball in the wing. Play some defense, right? Block a shot, man. Get on the floor and start moving in this thing, man. I mean, this truth is beautiful. There's so many different things you can do. I mean, you could give like the brother said, you can give arms, you could teach, you could read, you could hold the camera, you could bring the posters, you could be a scribe, you could be over the feast days, right? Getting everything in order, attendance, right? Whatever the case may be. You could be making all of the different cards, you could passing out Bibles, keeping everybody together in the spirit, right? You could be the backbone of everything. So you want to make sure that whatever office the Most High is going to set you in and do, that you magnify it and stir it up for the greater good of the nation, man. Right, that's all I got.
And one more point, even with sisters, you have offices too. You're not the woman in Acts the 9th chapter. Did she not make coats, Dorcas? Right? Did she not make coats for all of the apostles?
Mm-hmm.
Not the women washed the saints' feet. Right? Did they not lodge the saints? Was not Phoebe running messages throughout all of the churches? Right? Was not, you have all of these women who had these offices too. We're not the certain women, Mary, the other Mary, and Josanna or Joanna, all these women, Salaki, were catering to Yahushua. They were literally catering to Yahushua to the day of his death. Certain women that catered to the apostles, Martha and Mary, one of them was cumbered about with much serving. You understand? To serve the apostles. So even as a woman, you have to say, well, what am I doing for this truth? Well, the Lord said, be fruitful and multiply. So I do it. No, it's not. That's not all it is, man. It's not just being fruitful and multiplying. There's a lot that you can do as a woman in this thing. All right? And you have to ask, well, even as a daughter of Zion, what am I doing? That doesn't mean go out in the highways and byways and shake the hand. Right? We did see a video. I saw a video this Eve. She was out there shaking the hand. She had her husband reading for her. Right? It was a two-man camp. Right? Two-man camp. And she was calling the precepts. She said, give me the book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 21. Give me the book of St. John. Right? And the brother he was getting to them precepts fast. And she wouldn't even look. She had the mic. Come on. Right? Come on. Like the elder priest. Come on. Right? And the brother was reading. She was getting into it. Well, that's not. There are certain offices that are only for men. Right? A man can't be a Proverbs 31 woman. That's something that, like, don't try to tap into that spirit. Right? Like the brother did say, don't get into that one as a man. Right? And a woman, there's certain things that a woman can't do. Right? But you got to figure out what works well for you through the spirit. And you may have things and talents and gifts that you have, the Most High gave you in the world, that you could bring to the table, man. Certain experiences and ideas and understanding that you could bring to the table to benefit the ministry. You know, I want to put that out there. That's a good question. Okay, next question. Jake for Life, 45. Genesis chapter 27 to 13. Was there a curse put on Rebekah for deceiving Isaac? Okay, was there a curse put on Rebekah? That's what Jacob said, she said, upon me be this curse. Right. But there's no account of Rebekah being cursed for that. Right? There's no account. I want to get where the brother actually is getting his question from, right, in the book of Genesis. Let me actually read it, just so everybody kind of knows. This back up to you. Okay, Con, this Genesis chapter 27 and verse. Oh, this whole chapter is good. I'm gonna start at 8 just to get the context. Now, this Rebekah. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice according to that which I command thee. Go now to the flock and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. So this is Rebekah putting Jacob in a position to take the blessings from Esau. She's throwing him the greatest alley-oop in the history of alley-oops, man. You talking about the greatest assist, right? From Eve ever to get the blessings. She is setting him up for success. There's nobody in the history of history that has ever set anybody up for success amongst flesh and blood like this situation right here. So Eve was on fire right here, man. Thinking quickly on her wits to save the so-called black man from the so-called white man. Right? Let's read on. This is a mean chapter, right? Let's read on. And thou shalt bring it, this Genesis 27:10, and thou shalt bring it to thy father that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father peradventure will fill me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, upon me be thy curse, my son, only obey my voice, and go and fetch me them. You got it, King.
Khan, I wanted to touch on verse 11 when it says, and Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, behold, Esau is like it. My brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. We know that Esau, he's hairy, chest, back, creeping up his neck, right? Like a caveman, right? All on his arms to his fingertips, right? He said, and I'm a smooth man. My father peradventure will fill me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon. So this is a peradventure. He says in verse 12, peradventure, meaning right. If it were to happen. Not that it is a curse, not that the curse is inevitable, not that it happened, but peradventure. Somebody may say, somebody may, your grandmother when you were younger may say, run to the store, give me some juice. Here's $2. You may say peradventure costs more. Can I get another $1? It's just an occasion if it might or might not. It says, only obey my voice and go fetch me them. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory meat as his father loved. And when you jump down and you read, verse 19 all the way down, you see that he blessed them. So there was no repercussion or him finding out and overthrowing the situation through Rebekah. So there was no curse.
Quick precept on that. This Proverbs chapter 26 and verse 2. As the bird by wandering, as the swallow by flying, so the curse causeless shall not come. What does it mean the curse causeless shall not come? And it has to be a purpose for the Most High to put curses on flesh and blood, right? There has to be a reason. There was no reason for Jacob to have a curse, right? That was set up from the beginning. Why would the Most High put a curse upon Jacob or Rebekah when the Most High said it from the womb, right? They already established that the elder shall serve the younger. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Right? What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with God? God forbid. For he said unto Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy. So the Most High established this from the very beginning of the earth. A curse isn't just, you're not just going to walk and you walk under a ladder and a curse falls upon you. Or you split the pole, like they say in the word, and a curse falls upon you. It reads, as the bird by wandering, as the swallow by flying, so the curse causeless shall not come. Right? So there has to be a reason for a bird to wander. Maybe through a rock, right? Maybe the weather changed, right? Maybe it needs to build a nest and it'll wander. Maybe there's danger and snakes and wild beasts in the territory, so the bird has to wander. There's a reason for the swallow to fly. It doesn't just fly because it wants to test his wings out, right? So then there's a purpose to all things, and there's a purpose for why people receive curses. Read Deuteronomy 28, and you'll see why we receive curses. Read why Eve received a curse. Adam had a curse on him. It's all judgment. What would the judgment be on Rebecca? What was their sin? What was their transgression? Right? So there was never a curse put on Rebecca, because a curse will have to be brought forth from a judgment predicated off of the transgression of the law. Right? So I wanted to bring that up. That's a good question, though. You have something else on this, King?
Lie.
Okay, brother. We kind of answered this. Hopefully, we answered that earlier. How do we deal with that spiritual gift? Tribe of Judah. Okay. Is it a sin to call someone a fool? Is there ever a righteous occasion to call them a fool? Like a quick account. I remember, I don't know if you remember, we was at Ephraim, and the Eve was trying to get on us, mainly me saying, you can't call me a fool. And she went to Matthew, the 5th chapter. And we're going to go into that, because some people say you can't call nobody a fool, and they go to Matthew, the 5th chapter. Well, you can call somebody a fool, right? And hey, if you acting like a fool according to the precepts, then you're going to be called a fool, right? It has to be justifiable, and they have to commit folly in order for them to be a fool. They can't put a red shirt on and green pants on and be a fool. You have to commit folly to be a fool. Folly is an action. All right, you got it, King.
Let me get these 2 quick precepts real fast. And the Lord defines what a fool is, so you don't lean on your own understanding. Like the brother said, you don't want your meat tree to go all the way down like a wedding gown, and it's just in the street. Look at this fool. Come on, brother. Right now, you got to go off of the precepts. What's a fool and what's not a fool? It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 14, and verse number. I'm gonna start at 9. It says, "Fools make a mock at sin, but among the righteous there is favor." So if somebody's mocking at sin, laughing at sin, that brother is a fool. Hey, brother, you're gonna die if you don't repent. Brother, take that cigarette out and you're laughing. The Lord's gonna do what? And he's just mocking the sin. That brother will be classified as a fool. He has turned his mind and his spirit away from the Most High. The Lord said in the book of Proverbs, the 1st chapter, right? Let me get the classic. It's the book of Proverbs, right? Chapter 1. And I'm going to start at 22. "How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in scorning, and fools hate knowledge." So if you're trying to teach somebody, like they're making a mock at sin, they hate knowledge, they don't want to listen, all they want to do is their own pleasures, their own wills, then that person will be classified as a fool. Or do you just go around just stating the obvious all day? Let me get this quick precept on that. It's not profitable to just go around stating the obvious 24/7. This is the book of Job, chapter 6, and verse 25. "How forcible are right words, but what doeth your arguing reprove?" How forcible are right words? If you tell a brother to repent 17 times, are you really going to tell him 17 more times? How forcible is saying something that's right? You have to state the obvious 24/7. But if you're telling that brother in a spirit to where, you know what, brother, you're a fool if you don't come back to the Lord. You basing it off of the precepts and you pulling the precepts, that's a different spirit than just walking down the street. You know, look, you're riding the bus and you're in the truth. The bus driver, this is a fool. Right? This woman over here, she's a fool. And you just calling all of these people fools, you're not moving in wisdom. Just want to make sure that you know the definition and who's actually a fool. But you got it.
Right. And I want to look into right, Salakia. See if they got it in the Zondervan, right? They got the definition of a fool, right? Let's see, right? Just to see if they got this. Now they may have it, they may not have it. All right, here, okay, they got fool, right? So if you got the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, page 179, right here, you got the word fool. It reads, in modern usage, a dope or a simpleton, right? You don't want to be a dope or a simpleton. But in scripture, generally, impiety or lack of moral good sense is implied as well. And they give Psalms 14:1, right? The fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. Solomon in his writings, Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, makes about 80 statements about fools. And Solomon would make 80 statements about a fool.
Right.
He was Solomon. If anybody's going to make a statement, the most statements about a fool, it would have to be Solomon. Right? Let's read on. Solomon in his writings, Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, makes about 80 statements about fools. The Lord called the scribes and Pharisees fools, not implying intellectual stupidity, but spiritual blindness. You see that? So you can be a fool for a wide variety of reasons. Spiritual blindness, you're just walking in folly, right? You know, you're making a mock at sin. The Lord said fools mock at sin, right? So you know, there's a lot. The Lord said the thoughts of foolishness is sin, in Proverbs chapter 24, right, and 9 on down. So even when you think in foolishness, it's a sin, right? So folly is anything that separates from the spiritual undertone of the law, statutes, and the commandments, right? So if you go against the commandments, it's folly, right? Plain, that's plain, and you can be destroyed for folly, because a lot of brothers say, "Well, show me the law." Well, that's a sin. Show me what thou shalt not. Well, you could be a fool too. It's off to commit folly, right? So you want to kind of know what's going on in this thing. There's plenty of righteous occasions to call somebody a fool. Should you hastily call somebody a fool all the time? Right? Should you tell a brother in front of his son the day his son was born, and he's holding his son, that he's a damn he's a damn fool? That's not he forgot the precept. It's not the best time, man. Should you call your wife a damn fool because she burnt the unleavened bread? No, brother. I mean, you gotta kind of have some discretion in this thing, right? Let me read one more precept. It's Matthew chapter 5 and 22. It reads, "But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment." Right? "And whoso shall say to his brother Rakah," that means like an empty head, right? Like a it's similar to a fool, "shall be in danger of the council, but whoso shall say thou fool shall be in danger of hellfire." And the Most High escalates the judgment. He goes from the judgment, right, from a particular individual and a priest. Then it goes to the council. The council is the Sanhedrin. And then above the council, he's going to judge you. So which is the hellfire, which is the thermonuclear destruction. So it goes into the different levels of judgment based off of your approach and your intentions and sincerity on how you deal with your brother in the midst of his folly. If you have malice in your heart and you're just going around calling everybody a damn fool, calling your son a fool because he knocked over his spaghetti all the time, brother, that's not wise, man. Right? You can't just call, like I said, call the brother a fool, man. It can't be unwarranted, right? If it's unwarranted, it's coming from a spirit of envy, malice, hatred, right? And the Most High you're in danger of the hellfire. So there has to be a warranted reason, like the brother was saying, based off of the precepts. You got something else from that, King? Okay, all right. Elliot Tyson. How do you explain Galatians chapter 3, verse 8, Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, and Genesis chapter 18 to 18, when according to Amos chapter 3 and 2, families of the earth means all nations? Okay, well, I got a precept or two, King. If you want to get in there, I can get in there.
Con, I pull out a quick precept. I want to read on Galatians chapter 3 and verse number 8 first.
Okay.
Just going to what the brother going into. It's the book of Galatians chapter 3 and verse 8. It says, "And the scripture foreseeing that God would justify the heathen through faith preached before the gospel unto Abraham, saying, in thee shall all nations be blessed." Right? So when it says heathen, it's not talking about the different nations of the earth. It's not talking about the so-called white man. so-called Chinese man, the East Indian man, the Arab man, the Hawaiian man. It's not talking about these other nations. Right? The Lord calls us heathens. The Lord calls you an ox, a damn ass. The Lord calls you a damn serpent, man, in the book of Deuteronomy. Right? The Lord will call you anything. The Lord will call you a heathen, call you a Gentile. The Lord will call you a fool. Right? So these are just words, and we have to look what were the heathen doing. Let me get this quick precept. This is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 1 and verse number 24. It says, what shall I do unto thee, O Jacob? Thou Judah, wouldest not obey me. I would turn me to other nations, and unto those I will give my name, that they may keep my statutes. It's not talking about the whole wide world. The other nations that it's talking about is talking about the northern kingdom. You got the southern kingdom and you got the northern kingdom. But let me get a precept on that, because somebody said, no, it says nations. It says nations. Well, in the Bible, just because it says nations doesn't mean that it's not the same nation. And I'm about to prove that. It's the book of Genesis, chapter 48 and verse 19. Genesis chapter 48 and 19. And this is when Joseph is blessing Ephraim, right, and Manasseh through the hand of Jacob. Right? This is the book of Genesis 48 and 19. And his father refused and said, I know my son, I know it. He also should become a people, and he also should become, so like he shall be great. Truly his younger brother should be greater than he, and his seed should become a multitude of nations. So does that mean that Ephraim and Manasseh are the so-called white man, East Indian man? Does that mean no? Right? Yet one tribe could be nations. Right? So the word nation isn't symbolic of just the whole wide world, because within our nation, the Lord said they could be nations. When you read the book of 2nd Esdras, let me get this quick precept. The Lord said the nations of the dragons of Arabia. But there's only one man, Ishmael. And out of him, you understand, you have the Arabians. Right? Let me get this quick precept. So don't get tripped up because it says nations with an S and think that it's classified and talking about the whole world. Right? Because we just read with our people and with the heathens when it says nations. This is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 15. Right? Let me get this quick precept. Chapter 15, and I'm going to start at verse 29, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia. Now, Esau isn't in this, right? Moab isn't in this, right? The East Indians aren't in this, but yet it's still saying nations. So just because that word nation is there, you don't want to get tripped up. Now, just like Ezra said, he would turn, right? He's kind of quoting the same thing that's going on in Deuteronomy. But you got it, King.
And I want to read Genesis 12 and 3, right? Because let me just get that. A lot of people neglect actually what's written. Like they're ignoring what that verse is saying. This is Genesis chapter 12 and 3. It reads, and I'm gonna start at 2. This is the Lord talking to Abraham, or Abram at this time. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So as the Most High says he's going to curse people, then he's going to bless them through Abraham's seed. Well, what nation didn't curse Israel? Right? That's what I want to figure out. I want to know what nation didn't play a part in destroying Israel. Right? Did not Balak in Numbers 22 hire Balaam to curse Israel? Right? Is he going to be blessed? Are the Edomites going to be blessed? Aren't they throwing curses up on you through their witches and warlocks and secret councils? Don't they curse the name of the Most High and blasphemeth him and speaketh great things? So when are they going to be blessed? Because they got to get these curses. You got to get the curse. That's Deuteronomy chapter 30 and 7. Right? Let me get that real quick. Right? Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 7. And the word bless goes back to the Hebrew word barak. And one of the definitions of barak, it means to kneel down. Right? So when you kneel down, when you have people kneeling down before you, that's when you're truly blessed. Not because your granny went to church and pastor gave her a back rub. Right? Oh, I feel blessed. But no, blessed is when people submit unto you. You understand? That's what it means to be blessed. Like right now, Esau's blessed. The nation bowed down to him. And the kingdom, we're going to be blessed. They're going to bow down to us. So all of the families can't be blessed of the earth because everybody's not going to be bowing down to these nations. You got to go into the Hebrew. You got to go into what these words mean, right? This is Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 7, right? It's a classic. And I got one more after this. And the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. So they got to go through the curses. I mean, that's plain. Another one, Genesis chapter 35 and verse 11. And God said unto him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. It's plain. A company of nations, many nations. There's no telling how many nations. And the Lord said, a little one shall become a great nation. And we're going to be blessed in the kingdom. If you make it to the kingdom, you're going to be your own nation. That's Isaiah chapter 60 and 22. You're going to be your own nation. Then that brother's going to be his own nation. And that man's going to be his own nation. And that man's going to be his own nation. Every Israelite is going to be his own nation. And we're all going to be blessed because we come out of Abraham. You think the Edomites are going to be blessed? They're going to be exterminated. Aren't they part of the so-called families of the earth? I got one more. This Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse 1. Right? Jeremiah chapter 31 and 1. At the same time, now when you read Jeremiah 31, it's speaking about our deliverance, right? It's post-America. At the same time, said the Lord, will I be the God of all the families of Israel, and they shall be my people. So that's when we're going to be blessed. All the families of Israel. Israel is not just one family. We're many families, right? We're many nations, any nation, right? But you got it, King.
Khan, I want to get this last precept. And just to touch on that, right, and land me back on it, like I said, we're many nations of people because we're billions, right? No one knows the number of the children of Israel. It's
Right.
Genesis chapter 24 and 60. It says, and they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, thou art our sister, be thou the mother of thousands of millions, and let thy seed possess the gates of those which hate them. So that's a prophecy. We're going to have to possess the ones that hate us. And who hates us? All of these nations hate us, man. Where we're always getting beaten, raped, murdered, unjustly locked up, right? Persecuted, laughed at, stopped, whatever the case may be, right? All type of wicked senses. They're looking down upon us. And this is nothing new. Ask your father, ask your uncles, right? Go down south. Look at documentaries. Go in history. Open a book, right? Look at documentaries. Do whatever you got to do to really tap in and understand all the wicked crimes and things of hatred that they did. Right? They took our skin and made shoes, purses. They ripped us in half. They hung us. Right? I mean, they took out our teeth. Right? So when you think that these nations don't hate you to this very day, you really have to dig deep and really tap back into the spirit of the Most High. These nations are still fighting against us to this very day, man. Just had that big uproar, right? And all hell break loose. Me and a brother covered it on a Monday Night Fire. Jacob versus Esau, right? You got mass murderers and shootings, right? Saying, I hate black people, spraying up Walmarts and different things like that. This perpetual hatred is not going to cease on the earth until they're murdered. Because they've been hunting, right, and after us from the foundation of the earth because we got the blessing. You understand? Through the spirit. So the Lord said, be thou the mother of thousands of millions. That's billions of Israelites. So out of these billions of Israelites, you have nations within a nation. You got it.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. So we can roll on. Okay, from Yahweh. Any tips to remember precepts and breakdowns? Any study tips? I mean, I went into a cold cut a little bit on that, how to study. I know, Ryan, I know you got videos and whatnot. You got it. Can you go in there first, man? I know this is a very in-depth question. You know, it can be, but you got it, King.
Yeah, to be brutally honest, it's overwhelming to try to study too much at the same time. So you want to use wisdom. You don't want to try to take on the whole Old Testament in one night, or try to take on the whole book of Revelation. You want to build up yourself. Just like we're working out, right? Or jogging, or sprinting, or running a mile. You don't want to try to take on too much at one sitting. You understand? You want to build yourself up. You know, how I started to study, I had highlights, and I bought a big book of markers, like from Amazon. And there had to been like 24 of them. And I took each one of them out, and I started highlighting my Bible from Genesis all the way to Revelation. And I was just highlighting key points, you know, as I was reading. Then I would go back over them. And then as I started to go back over them, you know, I may go through a book a day. Like, for example, I may go to Genesis, and pretty much all of my pages are highlighted. And I would go through them, or whatever the case may be, right? And I would just see, you know, I'm on Psalms chapter 72. I'll look at all my highlights, then I'll flip. I'll go to the next one, look at my highlights, then I'll flip. And over time, me doing that, you know, I'm praying to the Most High that the Most High retain the precepts that I've learned. You know, it's helping. You know, what I found myself being difficult or being overthrown is trying to study too much. You want to be very simplistic, and you want to be wise. If you're taking on too much in one time and one sitting, you're not going to retain all of the information that you're going into. That's why I don't read excessive numbers of scriptures, because I want to retain the scriptures. I'm not reading to poke my chest out and say I read 20 scriptures today. So I get 20 books today, or 20 chapters today. Because the whole point of me reading is to obtain what I'm reading. Whether I read 5 chapters, whether I read 10 chapters, or I may read 3 chapters. Then I may study my precepts. Then I may read a breakdown. But that's all sufficient for me is my meal. Like the Lord said, paraphrasing greatly, sufficient is enough for a man well nurtured. You want to be nurtured in key senses of the scriptures. One day you may just want to dictate the whole day into studying your precepts. The next day you want to go back to reading maybe. The next day you want to study history. But with all of that, you got to find the regiment that fits you. What fits me is highlights, because I'm always, you know, answering a question. I'm always, you know, working on a breakdown. So it's popping out to me right when I go to it. And as I flip the scriptures, I see these different highlights, right? But let me get this quick precept. Now, I want to go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 10, I believe it's 7. Book of Proverbs, chapter 10, and verse number 7. It says, the memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. So we know that the memory of the just is like Noah, you know, Ezekiel, Daniel. They're the just, and their memory lasts forever. But on another fold, your memory, right, is going to be blessed of the Lord if you're just. You want to make sure you're retaining that information of what you're studying. Just like the Lord said in the book of Psalms 119, and I believe 63, so like your 90. Let me get that quick precept. I believe that's 93. It's the book of Psalms, right? Chapter 119 and verse number 93. I would never forget thy precepts, for with them thou hast quickened me. So that's actually a commandment. And I feel bad if I'm teaching, you know, and a brother may ask me a question, you know, what scripture says that the Lord had Willie hair? And I'm like, you know, if you really obtain and really study to be a scholar, or try your best to obtain any level of closeness to that, it's going to hurt you. It's going to punch you in the chest if you don't know a question. It's going to punch you in the chest if you don't remember a precept. Or if a hungry soul needs edification and you don't know the answer, that's going to hurt you. Let me get one last precept, King, and you got it. But I want to also pull this precept. It's the book of Isaiah 50 and verse 4. The Lord hath given me the tongue of the learned, that I should know how to speak a word in season to him that is weary. So you may want to study for the right reasons also. Don't just study the debate, right? It's blah, 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 verse, blah, blah, blah. And so all you're doing is studying to verse somebody, to go against somebody for whatever reason. The Lord gives you the answer to be able to cut down doctrines in due season, but most importantly, give the sense to them that are weary and need the knowledge of the Most High. It says that I should know how to speak a word in season to him that is weary. He wakeneth morning by morning. He wakeneth my ear. To hear as to learn. So you want to pray and be sincere and have clean hands. You got it.
Come. I mean, you broke it down. Right? You broke it down. So, brothers, I mean, like I said, you take that in, man. Right? And again, like the brother said, don't overwhelm yourself. Make sure you branch your studies. Make sure you touch on your precepts. Make sure you dive into the Hebrew, right? Make sure you kind of get your geography skill set up. Again, like we always say, you don't want to be a one-dimensional Israelite. You want to be a one-trick pony, right? You don't want to just be the guy who just, all you know is Revelation 1-14, John 3:16, and Deuteronomy 28. You want to be able to point out Jerusalem on a map. You want to be able to be confident to say, hey, that's where Samaria is. You want to be able to say, hey, look, that's the word Yahweh. This is how you write it out in the Hebrew. You want to be confident in these things as well, right? You want to be confident in accounts when it comes to the Bible, right? What chapters may go into and particular events that have happened. When people are talking about the time of Rehoboam against Jeroboam, you want to be well conversant when that conversation. You may not know exact precepts, but you remember reading and studying, hey, look, that's the account in the book of 1 Kings, the 12th chapter, where Rehoboam in the southern kingdom and Jeroboam in the northern kingdom. You want to be conversant, and at any given time, whatever chapter is going into, you want to be conversant, right? Meaning be able to be able to speak well on, hold a conversation, add a particular precept to, like the Lord said. Let me get this quick precept. In Sirach chapter 21:15. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter. You don't want to just sit, there people are talking about Baruch and Jeremiah, and you're sitting up there, you're quiet because you don't know what's going on. It's 7 brothers talking about how mighty Baruch and Jeremiah were, and you're sitting up there just holding Deuteronomy 28. Just hold it. Just wait for somebody to say ships. So you can say, ships. Well, brother, it ain't always going to be that. You can't just hold Deuteronomy 28 all day. You got your big thumb on Deuteronomy 28 all day. Are we disannulling Deuteronomy 28? No, right? But I'm going to get this precept. This is right, chapter 21-15. 21-15. If a skillful man hear a wise word, he will commend it and add unto it. But as soon as one of no understanding heareth it, it displeaseth him, and he casteth it behind his back. So you want to be on a level where, you're studying and you're able to add. You commend the brother for, that's a good precept. I'm going to add unto it, right? You went to Deuteronomy 28:68. It's a good precept. Let's go to the book of Job, right? Chapter 10-21 on down, right? Then another brother said, he went to Job chapter 10 about the land, the darkness, and the shadow of death without any order. Let's go to this book of Philippians chapter 2-15. And you're adding into it, right? Brothers, we challenge each other to add into it. We do different challenges and so-called games amongst the camp to be able to keep brothers sharp and challenge brothers to add into particular precepts, topics, and events, right? We call it the gauntlet. But you, again, just touching on that, you want to be versatile and conversant and wide variety of topics. Like the Lord said in Sirach 39 about a man that would be conversant and dark parables. Right? Let me get that real quick. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 39, and I'll start at verse 3. He will seek out the secrets of grave sentences and be conversant in dark parables. I'm going to pull up the word conversant. So that's the definition of a wise man. Okay, conversant, it means familiar with, knowledgeable about something, acquainted with, knowledgeable about, experienced in, informed about, clued up on, cognizant of, plugged in. The opposite of cognizant is ignorant, right? Unfamiliar with. You don't want to be unfamiliar with Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. It's just unfamiliar to you. Brothers talking about Shem and Noah, and you're trying to figure out what is he really talking about. Your mind is blown. You've been in this thing 5 years. 5 years, and it's your first time hearing about Susanna. You're mind blown that she cried out to the Lord, right? Well, brother, hold on. You're supposed to be conversing about that. You're supposed to know, hey, that's Holofernes. Well, Holofernes did this in the book of Judith. You got Susanna. We got the wicked judges. So you want to, and that comes with time. It's not a rush. You don't get it overnight, right? We don't know everything, right? But nevertheless, this stuff comes. You got to seek it out. You gotta want to study too, right? You have to have some type of drive, right? In this truth. You want to have some type of goals. We study because we want to seal the elect. We want to magnify the name of the Most High, right? We want to be unreprovable in this ministry, right? Let me get this in 2 Corinthians. Let me get one more. Chapter 6 and verse 3. And I know Ryan went into it. I got separate code cuts as well, how I study, right? We may study differently, but there's fruit, right? But you still, some things may work well for others and they may not work well, for the next man. I had a quick precept. Man. 2 Corinthians, Salakia, chapter 6 and verse 3. Giving no offense in anything that the ministry be not blamed, but in all things approving ourselves as the ministers of the Most High, right? In much patience, in afflictions, in necessities, in distresses. This is how you approve yourself. This is you say, look, am I a minister of the Most High? Well, yes, because I have went through these things, right? Verse 5, and stripes, and imprisonments, and tumults, and labors, and watchings, and fastings, by pureness. Here's the next one, by knowledge, right? By long suffering, by kindness, by the Holy Spirit, by love unfeigned, by the word of truth. So how else do you approve yourself? It's not just because you had camp for 40 hours. You also study. You're into the word of truth. You have approved yourself as a minister because you have sought out knowledge. And last thing, you got to pray to the Most High to strengthen your memory. That's 2 Ezra 14 and 40, right? Wisdom grew in his breast and strengthened his memory, right? And you want to pray for that for the right reason, right? Like the brother. So you don't want to be the debater guy. Everybody's drinking wine, and you're just holding the in-depth riddles, brother. What are the 11 feathers? The 12 feathers, right? What are the 8 contrary feathers? The brothers, it's his wedding. It's his wedding, and he's dancing with his rib. He's on his way to the marriage chamber. You rip the brother damn mantle off, man. I mean, you rip it off, and you ask the brother, okay, Ezekiel 17, break it down. Well, brother, that's not sincere. Or you go out and you teaching the sheep. Bet you don't know what Daniel 9 is going into. No, I just need help getting off of weed. I'm having a hard time. Well, show me Daniel 9, and I'll help you to get off of weed. Well, I'm just need a little bit of help. I'm struggling. I'm new to this truth, and I just want to learn the words of Yahweh. Isn't that his name, Yahweh? No, Daniel 9, right? Take it or leave. Well, brother, you can't have that spirit, man. You have to be sincere. You got it, King.
Yeah, that made me think maybe like 3 years ago, and this brother not in the camp no more. But I remember I think we was at Passover. The brother walked up, he was like, hey, you know what time it is. What's this going into? And I kind of looked at the brother like it ain't the time of, like, we got no discretion, man. It ain't the time and place for that. And then I said, you know what it's going into? It's going into Sirach 28:9. Then he kind of peeled off, like, and went to go look at it. When he looked up at me, I kind of went like, yeah, that's exactly what it's going into, ain't it? It's the book of Sirach, chapter 28, verse number 9. A sinful man disquieteth friends and maketh debate among them that be at peace. You don't want to be that brother that's just always rah-rah and trying to confound somebody, man. Because the Lord is going to confound you. You're going to pick on that wrong brother, then the Lord is going to have some type of spirit overtake you and overthrow you, man. You don't want to be that debating brother, man. This truth is more than debate, right? You don't want to have that Simba spirit. You're just looking for trouble, just so you can roar and overtake something, man. You want to have that strong spirit to where if something comes your way, you could chop it down, but you're studying to edify. And in the midst of edifying, it comes submissively that you're going to be able to chop down doctrines because you're studying to edify, and the things that are edifying and the things people need, it's going to contradict other things that people are coming with. So by chance, you studying, you're going to be able to destroy these doctrines, man. And it's going to be a lot of doctrines in the last days. As we continue to inch forth into our coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai, it's going to be more and more doctrines, more and more philosophies, more false Christs, more false flags, right? More new books, so-called, being found. It's going, all hell's going to break loose. If you're not rooted in what you believe, then you're going to be overthrown, right? Let me get the classic, right? It's the mighty book, right? Let me get this quick precept. Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of this world, and not after Christ. So the Lord is telling you, look, beware that these men are going to try to overthrow you. That even happened in the book of Acts, the 20th chapter. Paul said, reveling wolves will come in, and try to overthrow the church. So you want to be, you don't want to be a fool. You want to study the doctrine of life, but you also want to have your swords as a true swordsman. Got to know what to pull out. You don't need to always have to pull out a 50-foot sword on every matter, man, because it's not needful. You may have an axe, a dagger, a switchblade, whatever the case may be, as a warrior to cut whatever you need at the time.
Yeah, and the Lord said, be contenders of the faith. So you got to be a contender of this faith too, man. You want to study, you got to defend this ministry as well, to the brother's point, man. So this thing, studying is paramount. You have to study. And another thing, one more point that helps memory is meditating, right? You can't study the precepts, then hurt to turn on BET right afterwards and binge watch for 4 hours, right? And then you never thought about what you studied. You're going to lose it all. So you have to digest it and meditate on it and soak it in and challenge yourself mentally and think about the precepts and breakdowns of what links up with what and how you would expound upon this. You got to kind of dwell on that in your mind. Don't just study for 35, 40 minutes. And then next thing you know, you're just on TikTok, just scrolling, right? Study and then meditate. And you'll fare well in this thing. Okay, next question. Serenity. Can you explain Second Esdras and how scholars say it was written 300 plus years, or 300 plus, I'm assuming, years after the prophet Ezra wrote the first book of Esdras? Also, can you explain why Second Esdras was written in Greek if Ezra wrote Hebrew, right? Well, first and foremost, when you read the Apocrypha, right? When you read the Apocrypha from First Esdras to Second Maccabees, just a quick point. The entire scriptures was translated. When you read History of Susanna, and I'm thinking of how the 1611 is written, Bell and the Dragon, it tells you not in the original Hebrew. And certain things it tells you not in the original Hebrew, but it was translated into the Greek, or it was written in Greek from Israelites that spoke Hebrew and that spoke Greek, right? So you'll have Second Esdras and other accounts that are, is that, you got it in front of you, King? See that? I think you're on mute, or I can't hear something.
Salaki King. I said, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's real small. But
hold on, let me see if I can do this. See that? Not in the Hebrew to wit with these words, right? So you have certain chapters, Salakia. You have certain chapters and certain accounts that are strictly translated from the Hebrew to the Greek, right? So that's why you have names in that account like Abdias and Zacharias and Malachi and Jonas. And when he names these 12 minor prophets in Second Esdras 1, it gives the Greek name to Hosea. Hosea, they call him OC, right? Obadiah is called Abdias, paraphrasing. Right? You see in Sirach, Elisha is called Elisu, right? And all these different names. And Elias is Elias, right? Joshua is Jesus, the son of Nav, right? These are all translations into the Greek, All right. Also, 300 years after the prophet Ezra, I haven't seen where scholars said that. I'm unfamiliar with that. Can you explain Second Ezra and how scholars say it was written 300 years after the prophet Ezra wrote the first book of Ezra? I haven't heard that one. Right, that's me. But you got it, King.
Khan, you broke that down. I was going to go into the same thing. Like the
Come.
brother said in the Song of the Three Holy Children, History of Susanna, says set apart from the beginning of Daniel because it is not in the Hebrew, as neither the narrator of Baal and the dragon. Right? So, it's letting you know as you read the scriptures, right, that it's not in that original, but it's translated and going in the Greek. As far as that last point, I haven't heard that either.
Come. Then it's just also said, also, I was told that Second Ezra has historical errors in it. For example, King Artaxerxes is listed as the king prior to Cyrus, though this was not historically correct. And I could be wrong, but I don't King Artaxerxes in Second Ezra. I don't recall King Artaxerxes being mentioned in Second Ezra. But nevertheless, certain Persian kings, their names, like Artaxerxes is a title. You understand? Darius is a title. These are all titles, and they can be interchangeable for any man, right? So Darius is like what you would say emperor or president. These are all, although these are names or men, historically understanding how the Achaemenid Empire worked, these are titles that were attributed to particular men too, right? So sometimes you may say this man was before this man, but these are a lot of those are titles on these different men.
Right, and to add on top of that, Darius too, it means Lord. So when you read those certain points, I got the you can see that the timelines and things, going to them, but nevertheless, like the brother said, you just got to go into it because sometimes it'll mean Lord or it'll mean president or whatever the case may be. Just like I say, Pharaoh a lot in the Bible, but there's more than one Pharaoh. It's not just one Pharaoh. He just lives forever. Right? There's different men that have taken on that different name.
Come. That's right. That's right. All right, Judah in the house. What precepts says camps will form in Babylon and U.S. but will not unite? I got precept.
You probably about to get my precept.
I'm gonna get Isaiah 52.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, this Isaiah chapter 52 and 8. The watchmen shall lift up the voice. With the voice together shall they sing, for they shall see eye to eye when the Lord shall bring again Zion. So the Most High said we're going to see eye to eye when the Lord bringeth again Zion. And camps do unite, right? I mean, brothers unite. They may not unite and live with each other and use the same stove and eat out of the same refrigerator, right? And share a mortgage and rent, right? But brothers unite. We got Hell in the Harbor this so-called weekend. We're going to unite with other camps, right? So, I mean, brothers do unite. That's Zephaniah 2:1, Genesis 49:2. Brothers do unity camps all the time. They do Hebrew summits, right? There's a lot of events that allows different congregations with different mindsets or different particular doctrinal differences to still gather together in a spirit of camaraderie, brotherhood, sincerity, and mirth and joy amongst one another, right? So brothers do congregate, but in terms of every camp literally coming together and we appoint one elder, that's not of Yahweh Shah's program. Yahweh Shah's the king, right? And that'll put a spirit on the man. If all of Israel came together and there was 4 guys, it might put a spirit on Israel, right? And a spirit on those men, right? But you got it, king.
Khan, it's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37 and verse 10. I'm going to start at 9. Then saith he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say unto the wind, thus saith the Lord God, come from the 4 winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet an exceedingly great army. And we're coming together in the last days, man. Right? I mean, you got brothers in Africa, you got brothers all the way in Brazil. Israel is really waking up throughout the four corners. It's not just in Babylon. But in Babylon, you have a lot of brothers doing the work of the Most High. You have various camps. And the Lord is raising up an army. Now, with that being said, too, you still have a split between us. That's why in the latter end, the Lord has to join the northern and the southern kingdom together through the Spirit. The Lord said this in the book of Zechariah, right? Chapter 11 and verse 14. Then I cut asunder my other staff, even bands, that I may break the brotherhood between Judah and Israel. So we're not going to be completely unified as a nation until the Lord joins the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom together. Because even if all northern, so like all southern kingdom came together with all the camps, it's still a bridge and a gap, between the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. That's prophecy. So we're going to have to all come together as in the last days, but completely come together as one stick in the kingdom.
And I got one precept to add to that in the kingdom. This Micah chapter 2 and 12. I will surely assemble. So the Most High is going to do the assembling. It's not going to be of man to say, hey, look, I think that you and you, y'all should, every Israelite should form the same camp, right? They were called the elect, hopeful elect of Israel, right? Or whatever name, right? But it says, I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together as the sheep of Basra, as the flock in the midst of their fold. They shall make great noise by reason of the multitude of men. The breaker is come up before them. They have broken up and have passed through the gate and are going out by it. And their king shall pass on them, and the Lord on the head of them. So that's how we're going out of here. The Lord is going to get, you're not going to have blue and silver watching for Israel over here in the kingdom, Lord willing, if we make it. Then you got IUIC doing this. How them brothers get there? Then you got GMS with the garments on saying, well, what's the mark of the beast, right, in the wilderness? Then you got brothers in another camp sitting up there saying, well, what the hell are y'all doing here, man? Then you got brothers over there saying, I can't believe y'all niggas made it, all right? Ain't this... No, man, that's not how it's going to be. The second wilderness is going to eliminate any type of spirit like that, right? That second wilderness is going to do a lot of cleaning up, But nevertheless, the Most High, he's going to do the assembling of Israel all together, man. You got something to that, King?
Yeah, Consolaki. I got another precept on that. This is the book of Luke, chapter 9 and verse number 49. And John answered and said, Master, we have saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbade him because he followeth not with us. And Yahushua said unto him, Forbid him not, for he that is not against us is for us. Right? So you may have a brother like with another camp. He's not against us. He's not cursing us out and throwing curses upon us and doing God knows what to try to destroy and defame our ministry and sitting up there putting up cones, blocking traffic. He's not against us. He may have a different garment, a different name. He may be in a different state. Hey, but the Lord said, forbade him not, man. So you should be able to want to help your brother. No matter what camp you are in, if you believe in Hamashiach Gomalak Yahushua, the Most High, and our King Yahushua, and you keep these commandments in the faith, they all praise to the Most High, man. Lord, when you fare well and the Lord cleanses, right, whatever doctrines you may have, or whatever case may be, and have mercy on you within the second wilderness. But if that brother, he doesn't believe in the Lord, right, that brother, he may believe, some wicked doctrine that's not even classified as, it's just mass, right? He thinks that that's the Lord over there, right? And he's bringing them grapes. Like you have to have discernment too. But somebody understanding may be a little off. They may say, well, I think it's really, saying that's another fold. Well, I don't really see it, but I mean, hey, if that's what you see, all praise to the Most High. But if that brother right here, he's not forbearing them, right? All praise to the Most High, man. We want all our brothers in this thing to prosper in all of the different camps.
That's right. Right? Come out the hell on the harbor. right? If you out, come out the Hell in the Harbor. It's an invitation to camps, right? And in the body and out the body, the fellowship, even if you're not in a congregation, right? You want to break bread, fellowship, eat, drink, be in mirth. We will be laboring out there at camp doing the work of the Most High, right? That flyer is posted. It is on social media. It's been posted plenty of times. If you have any questions, we do have to email Watchman for Israel 77 at gmail.com. Any questions, ask, we'll answer, Lord willing. Okay, CC Levi. How do you ignore the distractions when you're at school? Okay. All right. Well, let me get this real quick. All right, quick precept. Now, let's get this in 1 Peter chapter 5, right, about being sober. Right? 1 Peter chapter 5 and 8. Be sober, and that's the word I really want. Be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. So you want to be sober-minded, meaning the word sober doesn't mean intoxicated with alcohol, right? In this context, that word sober means to be able to have focus, discipline, to deny your passions, to be able to focus on a bigger picture and a bigger task and end game that the Most High has, right? And I mean, I don't know what level of school you're talking about, but just a general judgment is pretty much all the same. It's folly and vanity in there, right? It's probably a wicked women and wicked men, right? A lewd doctrine that you have to learn, and unnecessary stress from a curriculum that is against you, right? And you kind of just got to go through those. So you can't just drop. And I don't know what school you're talking about, right? But just want to make sure you stay as focused as you can in this ministry, and you have to have that balance. Same thing with brothers that are at these workplaces. We stay focused at the workplace, and we focusing on the kingdom. We go there, we play their little game. Hey, look, we do the interview. Hey, we shake your hand, right? Hey, good morning. Hey, we might open the door. Hey, we clocking out. Hey, we do our little job, and we go home, huh? Right? We don't really entertain Jake that like to talk about sports all day and lewd, folly and carnal things, right? And wicked people that want to try to cleave unto you. You gotta stay focused on the ministry and on the kingdom of the Most High, right? I got one more real quick. This is Matthew chapter 6 and 22, right? It reads, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. And your eye has to be single, meaning your mind, right? You have to have a one-track mind in this truth, right? Despite whatever Satan is throwing your way at them wicked schools, man. And constantly reassure and remind yourself that, hey, look, this is not it. You may have to duck off and, hey, look, I got to go throw up some prayers. You may not say it like that, but hey, look, even at the workplace, you got to find a spot to pray. There's always a spot at the workplace that you have to find. Maybe by the stairwell. You may have a secret spot over here. There's always a spot. You got to find those spots where to pray, to stay in the spirit. You may have to isolate yourself at times. You may have to read on your lunch break. You got to deal with these people, kind of, say your highs and your buys, but, you got to kind of use subtlety. But you got it, King.
I'm going to get this quick precept. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 21 and verse 25. Sirach 21 and 25. The lips of talkers will be telling such things as pertain not unto them, but the words of such as have understanding are weighed in a balance. So you want to weigh what you say or who you talk to and how you talk to different people. You want to weigh things in a balance. You don't want to always have a conversation with everybody. You're sitting up there, you're talking to this brother, you're talking to this sister. You're sitting up there talking to Esau all day, man. Esau putting a spirit on you. Right? You're talking to his brother all day, his carnal conversation is starting to damn leech onto you. Now you're missing things of the world subconsciously. Now you're laughing at his jokes, which are not even funny. Things you found displeasing are now funny to you. This sister is now doing God knows what, man. And now you're overthrown. And this manager right? He's inviting you to his house for dinner. And you're sitting up there having a conversation with him saying, what time? So the Lord says, the heart of a fool is in their mouth, but the mouth of the wise is in their heart. So you want to always be a brother. And they even tell you that way before you even come into the truth, right? That brother that's quiet, hey, that brother's always thinking. He's peeping the room. He's being vigilant. He knows what's going on. Person that's the loudest, they always talking the most. That's the fool. So, I mean, how you kind of deal with distractions at school, you just spiritually, kind of weigh everything in the balance. Okay, this sister, she's a whore. This brother over here is a drug dealer. This brother over here, he's trying to get people to join the gang. You kind of visualize what's going on, weigh everything in the balance, who to talk to, who to not talk to, and meditate in the words of the Most High. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 4 and verse number 14. And it's okay to be the so-called oddball, man, and somebody that's different. You don't want to feel like you fit in everywhere. Who cares what man thinks of you? Or it may be way more sufficient and well needed for them not to want to chill with you, to be accepted in their circles. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 4 and 14. Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. So the Lord said, if you see the path of the wicked, you got to avoid it. You got to go the opposite way. You got to make sure that you're on the path of the just. And that may be hard sometimes because, you may be in a school cafeteria, right? I mean, you have to eat. Certain places you have to. You can't run out of every situation. But that's just up to you being strong. That's up to you being isolated to whatever part and section you can, whether you got your headphones in or whether you go read a book off to the side. Whatever you can do, make sure you do all you can do, right, to remain focused at school.
That's right. That's right. I know we up there bringing out the judgments on your teacher. Revelation 13 and 9, right? Psalms 149 and 5. You put little notes in the end of your homework, you going into slavery. Right? Little scriptures, and you know what I'm saying? You got to kind of use subtlety in this truth. All right. The wisdom of this world is the foolishness of the Most High. You're raising your hand and what about the Most High? Well, it's not time. It's not time. It's not time for that. Can't raise your hand and say, well, what about the Lord? Right? So that's discretion. The Most High said to give unto the young man discretion and subtlety. Let me get that real quick in Proverbs 1. Right? This is Proverbs chapter 1 and 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, and judgment and equity, to give subtlety to the simple, to the young man, knowledge and discretion. So the young man is supposed to have knowledge, meaning know about the Most High, know how to move in his truth, and have discretion. Right? You want to the Lord said, be discreet in every point. Right? Have some self-reserve. Right? Be an enigma. Don't just tell your hand to everybody at the damn school. Everybody knows that you're from the tribe of Benjamin for some odd reason, right? You write Benjamin on your binder, Benjamin on your spiral notebook, Benjamin, just Benji. Now you're Benji. The teachers, he's one of the, you got to kind of have some discretion, some reserve, right? You want to have some mystery about you, right? You want to be kind of mysterious in this thing to a certain extent, right? You don't want to be a creep, but you want to be mysterious and a wisdom. All right. Next question. From Shiso Sierra. Can we have guy friends in the truth as a single woman? Right? Can we have guy friends in the truth as a single woman? What do you say, King?
I'm about to go to this precept. Right. It's the book of 1 Corinthians, right? Chapter 7 and verse 1. It says, now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. friends. I don't really know what you mean by friends. We'll have to really classify and break down what that means as far as friends, right? Are you at the feast day and you say shalom, we're all akim and akwaf in the spirit of the Most High, or do you mean shalom, King? Or do you mean you have the brother's number, y'all texting, y'all going out to get lunch, right? It's a difference because the Lord, like the Lord says, paraphrasing greatly, I call you no more servants but friends, right? So it would really I would have to know and tell you what spirit you're in. Now I consider, my whole congregation my family. Now, am I going to talk to another brother's wife? No, but that's still my family, right? So, I mean, I'm trying to see how you classifying this word friend and what spirit it's in. But you got it, Ken.
Yeah, because you want to make sure that you have discretion too as a sister. Sister should be shamefaced first and foremost. So how you got all of these guy friends? I'm not sure, right? If you're supposed to be a shamefaced sister, how you accumulated 30 brothers in the congregation, and y'all have this big group chat, and you don't want sister. Oh, here comes sis. Here comes sis. Right, and then I'm one of the guys. Not saying this sister, but a lot of Eve say that I can't hang around women. They're too filled with competition and drama and envy, and I like to being around the guys. Right. Well, let me get this in First Timothy chapter 2. Right. This is First Timothy chapter 2 and 9. And like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broidered hair or gold or pearls or costly array, but which becometh woman professing godliness with good works. So a woman, she's not really having guy friends because she's shamefaced. Meaning she may not really be a shy individual. Some sisters are outgoing, publicly. Some sisters, they have a loud voice naturally, and they, whatever the case may be. But for self-denial and for the sake of following Yahweh Bashmel Rashad, they make themselves shamefaced. Just like certain brothers who may not be bold, but they have to be bold when it's time to be bold. Certain women have to learn how to be shamefaced, right? And you're not up in Brother Gabar face, then you're in Yaradan, then you call in Araya Lord, then you say, that's madness. A sister should be acquiring sister friends, right? And learning how to be a sister. I mean, what profit is it in learning to be a friend to a man as a woman? I mean, what exchange of words and knowledge and understanding do you gain? Your goal should be getting built up in the faith as a daughter of Zion and learning from elder women and learning from other sisters, and learning how to be a wife and a mother and these things. So to have a man friend as a single sister, me speaking as a man, I don't see the fruit profit of that. Also, shamefacedness should disannul a lot of that as well. Now, for brother walk in, he say shalom to the whole church congregation. You say shalom, okay, cool, right? Brother say, hey, look, can you hand me a napkin? Okay, here's a napkin, right? But all of the other stuff is a little bit outside of scripture,
I was gonna say real quick, it's not too wise because we're in the flesh, and being friends always evolves, right? Whether it be on both parties or just the one party. You're like, I thought you liked me because he kind of leaned in and give you a hug and you didn't want one, or other way around. It's too messy. It's one of those things you should always keep your hands clean. I got one quick precept. You got a point? You got it.
Quick point. You think you want to be friends with this guy? This guy's not looking at you to be your friend, right? He's not thinking that you're going to be his friend. I just want to put that out there.
That's right. Yeah, Jake, Jake doesn't want just a friend. That's not how Jake is. You know. Now, let's say you got that one Jake out of a million. Sure, maybe, but nevertheless, majority of Jakes isn't looking for just a female friend.
Salaki King. Y'all brothers remember that episode of Martin when damn Wallace was friends with Gina?
That's what I was.
He was damn stalking Gina. Salaki, Martin was stalking brother Wallace, and all hell was breaking. He was about to fight him, and it's the spirits. What you got?
That's what I was going to say. In a lot of this media, a lot of movies and TV shows, when you really look into it, when two friends are just friends, all hell end up breaking loose. They probably drinking at a bar. Next thing you know, they wake up in the bed. What happened? You know what happened. Y'all know what y'all did. This is Genesis 24. Not saying it's going to happen to you, but it's just not wise. This is Genesis 24:13. Behold, I stand here by the well of water, and the daughters of the men of the city come out to draw the water. So the daughters of the men were amongst the daughters. The women was always amongst the women in the ancient world. And I haven't found like a precept where the daughter kind of just had a male, best friend or companion like that. That was like just tight forever. It's not really comely, to be honest. And I always say, the majority of our parents, our mom doesn't have a guy friend. Or he said single woman, but nevertheless, it's just not really too comely.
Khan, and I'm gonna get this quick precept, or a couple quick precepts. This is the book of Sirach, right? Chapter 42 and verse number 12. It says, behold not everybody's beauty, and sit not in the midst of women. Because the Lord knows if you sit in the midst of women, you're liable to go off. Not that you will go off, but you're liable to go off. You're liable to put on more frankincense and myrrh out of nowhere. Be Mr. Funny Guy. Right? You want to pick up the chair. I got it. Picking up the table, lifting it in the next room. You're just going off, man. You're just trying to be the tough guy. What you say over there, you acting outside your character. You wouldn't even talk to this brother like that if y'all were alone. But now all of a sudden you have some sense of hatred toward him. Right? Remember that time when you tripped and fell, man? Right? And then you just bringing out old accounts. You sit in the midst of women, it kind of changes who you are sometimes, man. For the wicked. Right? This is the book of Ruth, chapter 2, and verse, I'm going to start at 5. Then said Boaz unto his servants that was set over the reapers, whose damsel is this? And the servants that was set over the reapers answered and said, it is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So Ruth is saying, look, let me go out where the manservants are so I could reap also. So she came and have continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. Then said Boaz unto Ruth, hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. So he told her, look, don't be going out in the field with the reapers, man. Stay here with the maidens. She don't got no discernment. Right? Naomi has the director, Boaz has the director. A lot of women, they don't have discernment. A lot of men, they don't have discernment. But he told her, look, stay next to the maidens. Right, verse 9. Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap. So he didn't want her eyes on a man's field. He wanted her eyes on the fields that the maidens reap. And that's a wise decision. Because Ruth could have went out there and, XYZ happened. And you want to be separate away from the women and the men. Unless you're really indulging that sister in your courting. Where it says, let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go thou after them. Have not I charged the young men that they should not touch thee? So he said, look, man, don't even go near them because I already charged them not to touch thee. Stay over here with the females. You got it.
Yeah, that's like that movie Brown Sugar. You seen Brown Sugar with Damn.
Tay Diggs.
Hey Diggs. Was that Sanaa Lathan?
Line Lathan, yo.
Sanaa Lathan in the movie, Mos Def, Queen Latifah. Right? You seen the movie, man. If you seen the movie, that friend spirit hip hop. I'm in love with hip hop. Right? Well, we found out what happened in that movie. Right? If you didn't find out, then you'll see, man. Oh, it's just hip hop. Damn cold. And imagine, your rib got a guy friend, man. They got their own damn hug. They got inside jokes, right? They giggling about the word damn elephant, and you don't know what it means, right? And they sitting up there, they got their own favorite drink, and she call you his name, and y'all got great memories together, and it's just madness. This is Judges, real quick, chapter 11 and 37, right? And she said unto her father, let this thing be done for me. Let me alone 2 months, that I may go up and down upon the mountains and bewail my virginity, I and my fellows. So this was Jephthah's daughter, and she had, who are her fellows? When you look at the word fellows up in the Hebrew, it means attendant maidens and companion. You see that? So the sisters hung around the sisters. You think she went up in the mountain for 2 months with a bunch of men? Right? As a single woman, as a virgin? 2 months up there with 40 men. No. Right? She was up there with the sisters, right? Bewailing her virginity before she was unfortunately offered up. Right? Verse 38. And he said, go, and he sent her away for 2 months. And she went with her companions and bewailed her virginity upon the mountains. Right? So, like the Lord said, all flesh consorted to his like too. Right? A man, the Lord said, be continued with the man according to thy mind, paraphrasing. So 2 brothers can answer face to face because they're both men and they understand. Then you got a woman friend. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with being cordial, being I don't want to use that word, being amiable and saying, hey, look, shalom, you may walk in the room or whatever the case may be. You don't have to be a jerk, but you want to use wisdom. All right. But brothers got it.
This Exodus 15 and 20. And Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took timbrels in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And again, that's just the culture of the East in an ancient world, and chiefly amongst our people, where the women were all together, even as we read earlier in Genesis. So it's comely because it avoids a lot of confusion, a whole lot. Could you imagine if a mighty man kind of just picked up the timbrels, kind of got in there, say, yeah, hold up, you're doing it wrong, sister. And then next thing you know, they in the tent playing other music. So, God.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Okay. Love pies are South Italians Israelites. We got Israelites all over, right? Talking about Sicilians, people of Corsica, Crete, right? Well, that's part of Greece, but that whole southern Europe. Let me get this in James 1:1, right? Get the class, right? This is James chapter 1:1. You do have Israelites that live in South Italy, right? Does that mean every Israelite or every Southern Italian is an Israelite? No, right? James 1:1. James, a servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. And Israelites have a strong tie in Italy, right? Remember, you had in Acts 18:1, you had Israelites all up in Italy, right? Remember, Priscilla and Aquila lately came from Italy, right? You had Israelites and Jews. I mean, it's like you had Jews in Italy. You had Israelites in Rome. You had Israelites all throughout that Roman Empire, right? And even in the Middle Ages, you had Israelites all up in Italy, Spain, France. So don't think that it was just so-called white people living there. And a lot of Israelites, it's like a lot of Italians have darker skin in southern Italy, due to them breeding amongst a lot of those other darker nations. So there could be a strong possibility that, hey, look, this person could be an Israelite, but you have to try the spirit by the spirit. You know, the brothers got it.
Con, you broke that down.
And I was just thinking, when you look up, I believe the Corsica coat of arms. See if I can pull this up. From the time of the Middle Ages. Let's see. This is called the Corsica Moor's Head. You see that? That's out there in Southern Europe. Because you had Jakes out there ruling during the 1400s, 1300s, 1200s. They was all out there in Italy. Now, if you look up Corsica on the map, right? That's where we got to kind of get into the geography. If you look up Corsica, all right, on the map, it's right up there next to Italy. But why do you have the head of the Corsica ruled by a bunch of so-called black men? Because you had Israelites all up in these regions, all up in Corsica, right? Sardinia, right? Or Sardinia, Slovakia, Sicily, Malta, right? Barnabas was from Cyprus, if I'm not mistaken. So you had Israelites all over, right? The Lord had Titus up in Crete and Timothy in Crete. You know? Okay, Con, we can move on. From CBC, Shalom King, Psalms 91. That's a good question. What is the secret place of the Most High? That's God.
Con. I get in there real fast. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 91. Right? I'm going to just read it, through the Spirit. Right? This is the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 1. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. So if you're in the secret place of the Most High, the Lord said you're going to abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Let me get this quick precept. It's the book of Psalms, right, chapter 9 and verse, right? I'm going to start at 9. It says, the Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. So, like the Lord said, you'll be under his shadow. The Lord said he'll be like chickens and will be like hens. And second Esdras, you'll be right under his protection. The Lord calls it a refuge, a secret place. You'll be protected once you're under the Most High, right? There's no specific location. You don't go to New York City. You go under the bridge, you make a left, right? And it's right under the telephone stand, right? So he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. So the same place the secret place is the same place you're going to be abiding under the shadow of the Almighty, meaning under his protection. Brother's God.
Con. And why is it called the secret place? Because this isn't for everybody, right? This is a little sanctuary. This is only for the elect, right? This is only for the elect men and women of Israel in order to come into this truth, right? So this, like the brother said, this is the secret place, the word of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. All right. Right now, we're literally in a secret place. While the world is doing God knows what, right? They're at some coliseum eating popcorn with the foam number one finger, with the 2 beer cans and the straws that come up to their mouth, or they're eating, a hoagie and a deep dish and dino nuggets somewhere in the open field. You have the secret place going on right now, man. What we're doing right now, nobody really knows about it. No, people can't just hop on this live. There's 252 people in the live. I mean, but you have millions of videos on YouTube, billions of views on folly and vanity. But this is like a secret place, like a secret room, right? That nobody can kind of come into. And it's the words of the Lord coming up. And the Lord kind of block it off from everybody, because anybody can find any video on YouTube. It's not hard, right? The way the algorithms work, the search bars, popularity, recommended, but you can't just click, can't find it. How do you think you weren't supposed to, you didn't find the truth until the Most High presented it to you? It's not as if the videos weren't there. They were always there. You just couldn't get to them because the Most High didn't want you to get to. It was like a secret. So now you've been invited, right? And you're in this word of the Lord, right? So this is the secret place. Brothers got it.
Khan, I got one more precept on that. This is the book of Song of Solomon, chapter 2 and verse 14. Oh, my dove, the dove is Israel. Oh, my dove that are in the clefts of the rock. Right now, we're under so-called Esau's habitation, and a lot of people are under his philosophies and his doctrines. They're in that cleft of the rock, in the secret place of the stairs. Now, nobody's going to a specific place with Esau in America that nobody knows. No, yeah, it's so void of understanding. You're in his secret parts. You're in all of the different doctrines, philosophies, and things of this world. The Lord says, let me see thy countenance. Meaning, come from under this rock and let me see your glory. Shine forth. Come out of this place mentally. Come out of this place on all type of physics and levels to where the Lord can see your beauty. You sitting up there, you're blowing your eyes, straightening out your hair, wearing suits, and all his damn, like the brother said, his coliseums and all of these different things. You're off. You have to depart from this man's cleft and his secret places so that you can be presented before the Most High. And everybody on his life has stepped away from the cleft of the rock and the secret places. And that's deep because any cliff and any rock and any cave has different parts of it. You have the beginning of it where you can still see a little bit light. You're almost out of it. And then the deeper you go into it, the darker it gets. So the Lord said, look, you all the way in the back, somewhere you can't see. Come out from this man's system and let me see your countenance. So a secret part and a secret place isn't necessarily talking at all about a location. It's more spiritual than anything.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Okay, Terry Jacobs, Shalom, Exodus chapter 31 and 18, written with the finger of God. Is this literal? Well, your finger represents your strength, your power, or your hand, right? Your hand, your finger, your great toe, right? These things represent power and strength, right? Now, let me get this account. Well, I'm going to get where that precept is coming from in Deuteronomy 9. Right, quick precept. This is Deuteronomy chapter 9 and verse 10. And the Lord delivered unto me 2 tables of stone written with the finger of God. And on them was written according to all the words which the Lord spake with you in the mount out of the midst of the fire and the day of the assembly. Right, so when it says written with the finger of the Most High, it's really on a deeper level, going into just the Most High giving the law through his power and through his strength. And let me get this precept. Brother, got something real quick?
Yeah, I got something.
This is real quick. This is quick precept, Exodus chapter 8 and verse 19. I'm gonna start at 18. Exodus 8 and 18. And the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. So there were lice upon man and beast because they tried to replicate every plague that the Most High did, but it stopped with the lice. They couldn't replicate that. Then the magicians said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of the Most High. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them as the Lord has said. Does that mean it was a real finger that came down and did this and stirred up all of the lice? And said, wow, that's that finger. Then the finger did this and ran off. No, man. When it says this is the finger of God, meaning this plague is from the power of Yahweh. Even Solomon used a proverb. He said, my little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins. And he was speaking about the strength of his rulership. I mean, Rehoboam used that, right? About the rulership and how he would strictly rule over the northern kingdom. The brothers got it.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 8 and verse 3. When I consider thy heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars, which thou hast ordained. Right? That's plain. So the Most High, through his works, right, he may have strength in his hands, strength in his arms, and strength in his fingers. So you don't want to make man your strength in your arm, right? Your hands, actions, and works. Your fingers are your works, like the Most High. So your hands, you know, your fingers, your arm, it's all symbolic of your works and things you bring forth.
This Hosea 12 and 10. I have also spoken by the prophets and have multiplied visions and used similitudes by the ministry of the prophets. So there's a lot of pictures being drawn with words and a lot of similitudes when you read the scriptures. Not everything is hardcore literal. Other words are the point is brought across colorfully, for lack of better words. And Exodus 31 is one of those examples. Similarly, how it says in Second Esdras, you know, the Lord will begin to visit the earth. The Lord is not getting off his throne to visit the world, but it's being demonstrated. His power is being demonstrated through the tokens and through the instructions that will soon come to pass.
That's right. That's right. Right. So that's a good question. Good question. Get a few more. We wind it down. Kingdom Mind at 144K. Question: would the Most High take away blessings if we get carried away in what He given us? Yeah. Right. I mean, a key example is the Lord said, Jeshurun. Yes, some y'all done.
Con,
Tom, you
you
got
got
it.
it.
No, go ahead.
This is Nehemiah 13 and 14. And it reads this. Bear with me. Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 14. Remember me, O my God, concerning this, and wipe not out my good deeds that I have done for the house of my God and for the offices thereof. And this is Nehemiah praying to the Most High, don't wipe out my good deeds, because He can do it. The Lord can take away, your good deeds and your blessings. If you get carried away into folly. And He says that I have done for the house of my God and for the offices thereof. That's all I was going to get.
So like a quick precept, Deuteronomy chapter 32 and 15. But Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook the Most High, which made him and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. So the Lord said, Jeshurun waxed fat. Jeshurun in the Hebrew is Yashuan, which means Israel, right? What are Israelites? It means upright. That's what it really means. And it's another title given to the Israelites, similar to the innocent, the meek, the humble, the pure. So once we receive the laws, the commandments, the promised land, the blessings, the priesthood, we got overprivileged, for lack of better terms, right? And we took everything that the Most High gave us for granted. So therefore, the curses fell upon us because of disobedience, and we started seeing and following what the other nations were doing. So it could very well happen, right? In terms of particular things, even Solomon said, "Give me neither poverty nor riches." Right? Feed me with food sufficient for thee, lest I be full and deny thee. So the Most High can make you full, and you end up denying the Lord. See, the Lord could give you $150,000 a year. But brother, if you get $150,000 a year, then you're going to end up denying the Most High. Right? You're going to be at your job 18 hours out the day. Right? You're going to be going to the flying on a business trips, and you can't keep the Shabbat because you're on a business trip to LA, and then you're on a business trip to New York, and your whole schedule is going to be jammed up. So you got to really be in a spirit of contentment, because the Most High can take things away, and you have to have discipline if you don't maintain your integrity with what the Most High has given you. Most High gave you a beautiful wife, a righteous wife, a godly wife, and you're just getting carried away. You're mistreating her, you're abusing her, right? You're talking down on her, you're verbally beating her down. Hey, the Most High take that away from you, man. Right? These things, the Lord did that in the ball. Didn't the ball have it all? And the Lord took it all in his life and gave his wife to a man that was better than him. So these things happen, all the time. Brothers got it.
brothers got it. That's plain.
Okay, con. Divine in nature, LOC. My son wants to know why some Bibles speak about Yahweh Shai being nailed to a cross, and some speak about him being hung on a tree. Why was it changed?
When you go into that Greek, could you possibly pull it up, King? I believe when you go into the Greek, it's all from the wood at the end of the day. Wood comes from a tree. But technically, even historically speaking, what they did as a punishment in Rome would be to hang people on a nail people to a cross. That was historically done. We're gonna pull up the Greek Lord willing. I believe it was in Acts 5, 6:30 or 19. 30. The God of our fathers raised up Yahweh whom he slew and hanged on a tree.
I can't play the sound on this one, so it's Xylon, if I'm not mistaken. Xylon.
So it's just a wood as a beam from which anyone is suspended, or just like it's suspended, it giveth a cross, a log or a timber with holes in which the feet, hands, neck of prisoners were inserted and fastened with thongs. So again, even it was customary in ancient Rome where nail people on the cross. So it's not really an error. It's not really an error. It's just the language barrier. Some may say tree, others may say cross.
Okay, from Pat Wolf. When will we know the right time to be the Lord's battle axe? Well, that's going to happen. Oh, go ahead, Yardan.
I was going to say, even like Yahweh say, he said, watch and see. It's you literally have to watch for these prophecies in these times. And when you read Matthew 24 and along with the other Gospels in Second Esdras, you will see the prophecy slowly coming to pass. But it's a little bit more than that. You have to have discernment as well. You can't see on the news where the dollar fell short. Now that's your time to just kind of bust some Edomites upside the head with an axe. That's not the time. I mean, you have to have wisdom and discernment, really, chiefly, like discernment, true discernment, because a lot of people think right now, it's the time. We've heard brothers say that. Now it's the time. That's what they did in the ancient world. That's what the Sakari, not the camp, the Sakari men was doing. That's what Judas of Galilee was doing. It was kind of overthrowing, trying to frustrate the prophecies of the Lord. Let me get one quick precept in Songs of Solomon. And then brothers got it. The Songs of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 9. I gotta find it. Where is that? Brothers got it.
Yeah, I want to get this precept, just prophetically speaking. Right, this is let's get this in Zechariah. Right, so really, when you're understanding the prophecies, each prophecy is going to happen in its own time. So when it's time to be the time of the Lord's battle axe, that's after this place is destroyed, and we're given a green light to put these other nations in captivity and slavery. So that battle axe, for brothers that may not be familiar with that terminology, that's from Jeremiah chapter 51, 20 on down. I'm actually get that verse, right? So brothers can kind of understand where that's coming from. Jeremiah chapter 51 and 20. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy the kingdoms, or destroy kingdoms. So that's going to be after we're being back down And after Babylon's destroyed and the Lord gives us the green light and puts us in our army military formation to go through these different land masses and enslave these heathen and wage war against these demonic nations, right? And that's going to be post second wilderness around that time when we're given that green light to do these things, all right? To actually, and I'm going to get another one real quick. Psalms chapter 149. Actually, let me get this first, Salakia. This is Second Ezra, chapter 13, and I'll start at verse, let's see, 26. Y'all don't try to mute your background, Baba Kishah. Second Ezra, chapter 13 and 26. The same is he, speaking about the Most High and his son Yahushua. The same is he whom the Most High, the highest, hath kept a great season, which by his own self shall deliver his creature, and he shall order them that are left behind. So after the Lord destroys these armies of these other nations, he's going to order the Israelites that are left behind, that still remain there, right? That have been taken out of Babylon and great in these other nations and that have been placed back in that land. He's going to order them, meaning give them instruction, rank, commandments, order, and then they're going to be given that green light to wage war at different nations. It's not going to be a free-for-all. It's not like a damn hip-hop rap concert shootout. When everybody's just fighting whoever they want to fight. I'm going to go get my boss. I'm going to go find my super. I'll see you later. No, it's going to be in order, like a military campaign. Certain men may take down these nations, and other men may take down these nations, right? It's going to be a big deal, man. It's not just going to be a mosh pit. A lot of brothers think it's just a mosh pit free-for-all, right? No, it's going to be a military campaign, a conquest. It's going to be a world conquering. The brothers got it.
It's not going to be a royal rumble.
Right.
I was going to get Songs of Solomon 2 and 7. I charge you, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, by the roe and by the hinds of the field, that ye stir not up nor wake my love till she please. So you can't put it in your hands. You can't be a vigilante when it comes to the scriptures. You can't just put the law in your own if the Lord's taking too long. I'll take care of it. You just get a ragtag team of misfits and try to overthrow the government and then fall short. You know, that's not the right time to be a battle axe, right? And it continues on in verse 8. The voice of my beloved, behold, he cometh leaping upon the mountains, skipping upon the hills. Right? When the Lord returns, he destroying these hills and mountains, these nations, and then we get beat up. Then soon to come, we'll become those true battle acts. Because even during Jacob's trouble, it's not our time to just, free for all. I got my gun. I've been waiting to use this laser. I've been waiting to use this Glock. That's not the time either. Not to say you can't defend yourself, however the case may be, but you can't put, the destruction in your own hands. Even as it says in Genesis, if anybody seeks Cain, the Lord will unleash sevenfold upon him. Let's paraphrase it.
Right. Vengeance. Whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold, paraphrase. But brothers, we can wind down. We can bring out some closing precepts.
And like brothers are bringing out mightily, you're going to know when you're a battle axe, right? Like the Lord said in the book of Song of Solomon, the 3rd chapter, they are all experts of war. So to be a battle axe, that don't mean you is going to shapeshift into a physical axe, right? The Lord is going to put the spirit on you to be able to destroy these heathens, like an axe would chopping down a tree, man. And that tree doesn't fight back. That tree doesn't hold or have another axe to go against it. And man is tree. So we're literally going to be a weapon of mass destruction to continue to break down these nations. And there's nothing they can do about it. They're going to get chopped down and chopped down till they have no root, right? But let me get this quick precept, right? I just wanted to touch on that too. One last point. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 24, verse 22. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall be visited. So we're going to have to grab up these nations. We're going to have to beat them down. We're going to have to lock them up in pits. We're going to have to thrust them through. Right? When you go into Zechariah, the 14th chapter, there's so many precepts that go into the end days and go into us taking down the heathen. Right? I mean, all hell is going to be breaking loose. We're going to have a two-edged sword. Right? So these precepts, when you go through them in the spirit of the Most High, we're going to take down these nations, and we're not going to be overthrown. I quoted it, but I want to get it real fast. It's Song of Solomon 3 in verse number 8. They all hold swords, being experts in war. And nobody right now is an expert in the war. They may could have a black belt, it may be a so-called whatever the case may be. You know, they may be in the military. They may learn all of these different SEAL drills and hopping out of helicopters and have all of these weapons, but they're not an expert of war. We're going to have the war tactics of the Lord. That ancient spirit Joshua had, Judas Maccabeus had, and that ancient teachings of Abraham with his armed servants. You know, think about how our fathers got down. From the time they were a youth, they were trained up for war. They were trained up in the mindset to look up not to a drug dealer or look up to somebody that's not a nigger or a drunkard, but to look up to a warrior. I mean, you see in your father's house now with a bunch of cigarette butts and empty 40 bottles. What about in the ancient world in the tents? You saw all of the swords, the helmets, the buck. These are the things that they were sneaking off to probably play with, man, all the children. And now you got Jake sneaking off, grabbing cigarette buds and God knows what, man. So, I mean, we come from a lineage of kings and warriors, right? So the Lord said he's going to make us experts in war. Every man have his sword upon his thigh because of fear of in the night. So the Lord's going to make us an expert in war, which is going into being that battle axe that the Lord is going to have for his vengeance, right? But I'm going to bring out this closing precept. Right, this is the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 2. Be watchful and strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die, for I have not found thy works perfect before God. Right, so you got to watch what's slipping away and strengthen that up, whatever that is, right? And you know best, right? Like the Lord said, know ye not yourselves in the book of 2 Corinthians 13, verse 5 all the way down. So you want to strengthen these things up. It says, remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast, and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come at thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. So if you're not diligently watching, not only your spirit, but in the last days, you're going to get chopped down in due time. So make sure that you're doing all things to magnify the Most High God, his beloved Son, Yahushua.
Gone. This is Luke chapter 7, verse 47. And it reads, wherefore I say unto thee, her sins which are many are forgiven, for she loved much. But to whom little is forgiven, the same loveth little. Like the Lord said in John 14 and 15, and if you love me, keep my commandments. So ask yourself, have you kept the commandments today? Have you been trying to keep the commandments? Do you willingly break them? And if you do, then you don't truly show that you love the Lord. And if you don't truly love the Lord, what makes you think that there's going to be love in your household? What makes you think that there's going to be order in your household? Because everything starts with loving the Lord. And then what follows after loving him is protection, wisdom, guidance, knowledge, and understanding. So that's something that's very important to ask yourself every day. Did I love the Lord today? Today was my last day. Did I truly love him to the best of my ability? Or did I just freak off on purpose? Or did I smoke that cigarette that I shouldn't have smoked? Or did I get enticed and binge watch 3 movies back to back without taking a break? Ask yourself, when was the last time you actually read just a little bit for the Lord and studied? So that's a key question to ask yourself every night before you go to sleep, and every morning. How am I going to love the Lord? And did I love the Lord today? With that, I yield.
Go ahead, I'm gonna get the classic. This is Revelation chapter 22 and verse 12. Right, this Revelation chapter 22 and 12. Bear with me. It reads, "And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according as his work shall be." And we bring this precept out every week, Lord willing, making it known that Yahweh Bashmel Shah is going to reward everybody according to their works, rather your works are in righteousness or rather your works are in wickedness. The Lord said, because sentence against an evil man is not executed speedily, therefore the heart to the sons of men is fully set them to do evil, paraphrasing it, right? So you don't want to be thinking that you're doing things and the Most High is not going to get up with you, right? Every person is going to get rewarded according to their works. Rather you do things, that's Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and 13. It says, with every secret thing, whether it be good or bad, paraphrasing, or evil and good, right? And all of your great works that you do, all of your reading, your studying, your teaching, your prayers, right? Your alms, you're building up your household, your sacrifices, all of those things are going to be weighed in the balance. You don't want to be found wanting, right? There was a man found wanting in the book of Daniel. You don't want to be found wanting as a king, right? Weighed in the balance. He says, tiki tiki many you farshing, paraphrasing. Your kingdom has been found wanting, right? God forbid a hand appears into any one of us while you sleep, and it says you have been found wanting. What are you wanting in? What are you lacking in, man? Right? And you have to ask yourself, are you wanting or lacking? And then what are you going to do to increase in those things? Right? But with that, we're going to close up, giving, of course, our honor and our glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach like Yabushai. Most High willing, you'll edify. We'll extend that Q&A next week, Lord willing, when we open up the line. We may do more Q&As throughout the week. I'm on the Cold Cuts channel. But with that, Brother Naquam.
Shalom, Brother Wright.
Brother Yardan.
Shalom. Kwam Yashala. Shalom.
Kwam Yashala.